Management Committee. I'm Councilmember Weezer, Chair of the committee. We've been joined by Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson, Councilmember Mitch Englander, and Councilmember Cohen Price.
Oh, your phone's off the hook. There you go.
Thank you.
I know. Voices are one thing, dial tones are
That we could hear. So we will call this meeting to order. And before we do that, I need to read the committee rules with respect to public comment. New council rules state that members of the public wishing to speak on one agenda item shall have an opportunity to speak for 1 minute when or before that item is considered. Members of the public wishing to speak on more than one item shall present all comments addressing those items during the multiple agenda item comment segment at the beginning of the meeting. These speakers shall be allowed to speak for up to 1 minute per item, up to a total of 2 minutes per meeting. The comment period serves as the only opportunity for members of the public who wish to comment on more than one item to speak during the meeting other than during general public comment. Once the multiple agenda item comment segment has been closed by the chair of the committee, no additional speaker cards for multiple items need to be accepted. During general public comment, which is a separate segment from the multiple agenda item comment segment, speakers get 1 minute to speak on non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of this committee. So with that, we'll get started. I wanted to clarify with our city clerk on items 7 and 8. We took cards. Those are multiple agenda items. Did speakers sign up for the multiple agenda item, or did they sign up? Did you direct people to sign up for one of those items?
I directed them to sign up for 7 and 8 as one item.
As one item, okay. So just to be clear, our rules are that if you are to speak on more than one item on the agenda, we take you up in the multiple agenda item comment period, which is at the beginning of the meeting, and you would be given an opportunity to speak on those items. But if you want to speak on them separately, just fill out one card on either 7 or 8 if you want to speak specifically on each one of those. Just want to make clear that the public understands those rules. Took me a while to understand those new rules. Anyway, so we'll get started with the report from the Director of Planning and then go to the multiple agenda item comment period. Do we have a report? Welcome.
Committee, no report today given the size of the agenda, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We will receive and file item number 1 and now turn to the multiple agenda item comment period. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I was just advised by our city attorney that if there will be proposed changes by anyone on city staff to any of the items on the agenda, they should be presented first before the multiple agenda item comment period. So let me ask Council District 5. Is a representative here from Council District 5? Are they on their way? Does anybody know? I know Mr. Koretz wanted to be here, and he was on his way. Okay, well, what we will do right now is go to other 7, 2, 3, 1.
Councilmember?
Yes, sir.
While we're waiting, in the meantime, there is a change to the BMO BHO ordinance. It was posted today on council file. It's the language in section 13 clarifying that the provisions of 1224 and 1400A will remain exceptions to the regulations.
Okay. And that was posted prior to this meeting?
It was posted today, and there are copies available if the public wishes to see them.
Okay. Again, before we begin, anybody from Council District 5 here? No? Koretz's office? Okay, can you speak to the microphone, please? And reinstate your name, please.
Sean Bayless from Councilmember Paul Corrett's office. The council member is about 5 minutes behind. I apologize for that. He was hoping to be here to speak on the item. So if we could wait a few minutes or move on to another item and come back to this.
Okay, we will do that.
Thank you.
Let's move on to item number, what do we have on the agenda that, item number 6. Call to order item number 6. If the CLA could read that into
Sure.
the record, please.
Item 6, Councilman, this is a draft ordinance prepared by planning, being transmitted by the Planning Commission to establish the Sunset Square HPOC.
Okay. Staff here to present this item?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ari Brisky from the Office of Historic Resources, HPOZ unit of the Department of City Planning. I'm here to present to you the proposed Sunset Square Historic Preservation Overlay Zone, or HPOZ. Sunset Square is located in the Hollywood Community Plan area, just north of the existing Spalding Square HPOZ. Sunset Square primarily developed between 1908 and 1941 as multiple parcels were subdivided to create housing near Gardner Junction, the intersection of two streetcar lines that is today Gardner Street and Sunset Boulevard. Architecturally, Sunset Square is significant for its diverse array of architectural styles, with homes ranging from small Spanish bungalows to Japanese-influenced craftsmen to ornate Tudor revivals. Sunset Square also features wide parkways with mature trees and historic concrete streets. Of the 323 properties within the proposed boundary, 208, or 64%, were found to be contributing elements, built within the period of significance and largely intact. The remaining 115 were found to be non-contributing or non-visible. On September 22nd, 2016, the City Planning Commission adopted the Sunset Square Preservation Plan. A preservation plan summarizes the review procedures for work on homes in the district. The plan contained tailored design guidelines, which were developed with a working group and responded to the unique needs and preferences of the community. During the adoption process, two key boundary questions have been raised. The proposal before you reflects the recommendation of staff and the City Planning Commission to exclude multifamily properties on Hollywood Boulevard and to include single-family homes on the west side of Fairfax Boulevard. Today, you will consider the adoption of the proposed HPOZ and boundaries as reflected in the draft ordinance before you. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for our staff? Okay, we'll take a public comment at this time. Cheryl Holland, Wendy Needler, and Michael Kennick.
Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Holland, and I am the president of the Sunset Square Neighborhood Organization. This HPOZ has been going on for 11 years now. I and many other residents in our community have been working on it. Sunset Square is over 100 years old. It's on the flats of Hollywood. It is a gorgeous old neighborhood. It is used by our entire community as green space, not just the people who live there. It's constantly used for filming because of the gorgeous old homes, so it's great for our economy and our local filming economy. And in the 11 plus years that we have been working on this HPOZ, I've had an opportunity to speak to many people in my community about this, and we have had no opposition. It's overwhelmingly supported. Just recently, some developers optioned some houses in the community, and that's the first time we've heard anything against it. But everybody else in my community overwhelmingly supports saving this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wendy Needler, and I live at 1515 North Ogden. I've lived there since 1984, and have been battling for the preservation of our neighborhood. It's one of the few intact neighborhoods in Hollywood. It's very important that we include both sides of Fairfax in this effort, and I appreciate your thoughts and consideration of this wonderful HPAS. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Kennick, Susan Pintar, Mary Lou Sewart, Karis Tobias, or Chris Tobias. Welcome.
Council members, my name is Michael Koenig. I'm a 25-year resident of Vista Street in the proposed Sunset Square HPOZ. This year, my house turns 100 years old, and this year, the California sycamore tree in my backyard also turns 100 years old. This neighborhood has history on every block, and it has a elementary school. It is truly the definition of a Los Angeles neighborhood. I thank you, council members, for recognizing the importance of this historic neighborhood.
Thank you.
I would like to thank the council members and the committee for their time and attention to this matter. My name is Susan Pintar. I live at 1636 North Stanley Avenue. I've been there since 1984. I fully support the proposed HPOZ. My street is one of the streets that has been most affected by the building of these oversized mansions. I understand that there are even more houses on Fairfax and Stanley that are about to be torn down to build further oversized houses. And these are historic structures. And I really hope that this doesn't happen, and I hope that the council members will not allow this to be denied. The HPOZ must go through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Lou Sewart, and I live at 1534 North Fairfax. And I'm concerned that you're not going to include my street in the HPOZ and both sides of Fairfax. We're the public face of Sunset Square. Tour buses go past, people walk by admiring the street. Don't exclude us. I fear if you do, we'll eventually lose our homes, just like we lost our street in 1964. We'd go nowhere. We're a wide street, what never happened. And I grew up in this house. I grew up in this neighborhood, and I hope for my daughter to be able to live in that house too. It's an amazing neighborhood. It needs to be preserved for future generations because it's full of beautiful homes, Hollywood history, and a way to show people what things look like when this town was cared about making things beautiful, not just practical. It's sad to me that we even have to do something like this to preserve things of beauty, but it seems like we do. So I'm letting you know that I really hope that you and the City of Los Angeles will keep our neighborhood safe and allow us to continue to have a pocket of beauty and history in the area of Hollywood for future generations.
Thank you. And you are Chris?
Karis.
Oh,
I'm
Karis,
Karis
I'm sorry.
Tobias.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. Okay. Karis, Tobias, let me call the next three: Andrea Goldberg, Marshall Rice, and Courtney Carroll Small. Welcome.
I have some papers I'd like to submit of signatures from the community on Fairfax. I live at 1534 North Fairfax. I'm in favor of the HPOZ. I'm the future, and I want to live in a beautiful historic homes. I want to live in the home my mom grew up in. It has always been my dream to live in that house and raise a family of my own when the time comes. I don't want developers to take it over and build condos. Please don't let developers take the historic Fairfax Avenue away from the future generations. I'm the future, and I want to live in my family home on Fairfax without being scared of developers kicking me out of my home. Please include all of Fairfax Avenue in the historic Sunset Square neighborhood. Let's keep the history of our beautiful neighborhood preserved. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Andrea Goldberg, and I'm a resident of Sunset Square. I own 2 properties on Stanley Avenue, both of which are past the 100 mark and in very good condition. I'm here to support the HPOZ. I'm particularly concerned now because within the last couple of months, a developer, bought the property just to the north of me and is waiting to see what happens with these hearings. There are 3 other houses which have been built on Stanley Avenue in the recent past. Those houses are boxes. They are multi-story, whereas most of Sunset Square is 1 story. The first thing the developer...
You can finish your thought or your sentence, that's fine. You could finish your thought or your sentence,
Okay.
although the time
The
expires.
first thing the developer does is to cut off all the trees on the property. We have beautiful trees all through the neighborhood.
Great.
And it's a narrow lot, and he's going to build very
Thank
close
you.
to my house. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please support.
My name's Marshall Rice, 1533 North Fairfax. We're on the west side of Fairfax. It's a historic contributor. It's a 1913 Craftsman, beautiful home. I'm in support of the HPOZ in its present form with no changes. We sure hope we can get your support for that. Could all the people that are in support of the HPOZ Sunset Square stand up, please?
I know, I didn't want to push them.
Thank you.
Courtney Carroll Small, Florian Shog, Edward Smith, and Sumi Mishima. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Courtney Small. I live on Courtney Avenue. I've been a resident of Sunset Square since 1998. We are very, very excited that we are going to become an HPOZ with your blessing. I'm in full support and thank you for your help.
My name is Florian Schauk. I'm a resident of Sunset Square. I'm in full support of the HPOZ, including all of Fairfax. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Edward Smith. I live at 1550 North Fairfax. I'm here in support of the HPOZ.
Thank you.
My name is Sumi Mishima. I live at 1556 North Fairfax in a 100-year-old historic home, and I'm in support of the HPOZ.
Thank you. Tamara Bergman, Julia Mason, Shamari Davis.
My name is Tamara Bergman. I have a house at 1547 North Fairfax. I've lived in the neighborhood since 1962. These houses are irreplaceable. Thank you for having the vision to preserve them.
Thank you.
Julia Mason, we bought our 105-year-old Craftsman bungalow in 1986. We raised our family there. We've done extensive repairs by hand. Everything has to be custom made in those old Craftsmans, and that's why they're so special. They're really irreplaceable. The style of our neighborhood is just beautiful. We've got lots of green space, lawns, trees, and we serve as open space for the entire neighborhood. The grannies, the nannies, the strollers, the walkers, the dog walkers, everybody comes through and enjoys our setbacks, our lawns, our historic trees. We're so excited to be able to preserve our neighborhood. Our neighbors are in full support of this HPOZ. Thank you.
Thank you. Shamari Davis, Rob Word, Godfrey Wachira, and Yolanda Dives. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Shamari Davis. I'm a business rep for IBW Local 11 and a member of CREED LA. We oppose extending the proposed Sunset Square zone of the west block of Fairfax Avenue. This expansion, we think, will limit development opportunity, which means fewer houses, jobs, and economic opportunities. So we understand the need for historic preservation, but it should not block future development. And for that, we oppose the proposed zone. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rob Ward. Thank you for hearing us today and helping us preserve our wonderful neighborhood. I live at 1600 North Fairfax. I've been there since 1988. My home was built in 1923. It's a Leave It to Beaver area. You feel like you're going home. People drive to our area just to walk on the sidewalks and see the beautiful homes there. Also, the sidewalks are smooth, so maybe it's better than most places in LA. But we are happy to be here today. You can see from the turnout, it's a great area, and the homes are worth preserving. Since I've been there, a younger group of families have moved in. There's schools nearby, and it's just a fantastic place in the bullseye of LA, and it would be a shame to see it ruined by the plethora of apartments that seem to be springing up all over Los Angeles. I love it there, and so do our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Godfrey Washira, Creed, LA. Approving the Sunset Square zone as drafted will create an inconsistent land use pattern on the block west of Fairfax Avenue. Since majority of the block is zoned for multi-family development, we should maintain consistency with the R3 zoning rather than expanding the Sunset Square zone west of Fairfax. We do support the goal of historical preservation, but on the other hand, it should go hand in hand with economic development for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yolanda Dives, Jose Pina, Gus Torres, and Roy Afusia. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Yolanda Dines. I'm here on behalf of Creed LA. There are three main reasons why we oppose the Sunset Square Historical Preservation Overlay Zone as currently proposed, and they include: number one, the map of the zone, especially west of Fairfax Avenue, amounts to spot zoning. The second is the extension seems to be mainly serving to prevent future development. And three, the area has potential for more multifamily development. We therefore urge the committee to reconsider the proposed boundaries to ensure that we are not limiting future development in the area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jose Pina, and I'm here on behalf of Creed LA. We must recognize that all buildings, both historic and modern ones, reflect our city at the time that they are built. And right now, we need more housing. This means using land to its maximum potential without additional overlays and other burdens that potentially could limit development. That is why we oppose the Sunset Square zone as currently proposed and request that this committee review the boundaries to ensure that we maximize development potential, especially west of Fairfax Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Gus Torres, Local 250 Pipe Fitters. At what point does historic designation stop preserving and begin preventing? Preserving historic buildings is important, but these designations should not prevent future development. That's why I believe that this committee needs to prevent the Sunset Square zone from crossing the west side of Fairfax. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Roy Afusia. I'm a business agent representing Sprinkler Fitters, Local 709. I'm here to oppose the Sunset Square zone as currently proposed because extending the zone to the west of Fairfax Avenue will limit development projects that creates opportunity for our skilled workers to earn a decent living and provide affordable housing to the people of Los Angeles. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Halstead Sullivan. I live at 1540.
1 second, sir. We haven't called your name. We go by cards here. Thank you. Ernest Heredia, Amy Kettle-Lear, Jason Riley. Anybody wishing could speak can fill out a card. You get those in the back and turn it into our officers here. And you could,
Hi, I'm Ernest Heredia from the Sunset Square. I'm here to support it. I've lived in my house since 1998. I've owned it. It's just turned 100 last year. It's going towards 101 year, and so I fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amy Cotelier. I'm a homeowner at 1610 North Orange Grove Avenue. Relatively speaking, I'm new to the neighborhood, but the reason I purchased my home is because I have 2 young daughters, and the neighborhood, as evidenced by their turnout today, is a true neighborhood filled with good people and beautiful homes. It is my hope that the City Council approves the Sunset Square HPOZ, including all of Fairfax, to preserve this beautiful place. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Riley, Chris Cheek, Tyrone Mckillin, and Cameron Smith. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Jason Riley. I live on North Orange Grove, just a block away from the Fairfax area that's in question. Very proud to be a homeowner there of a small home that I'm very proud to be a custodian for. It's old growth wood that doesn't exist anymore. And when we do repairs, we bring our pipe fitters and workers in to preserve in a careful way. And I just want to say it's a great place for kids. And some of the people that are coming up and opposing this HPOZ don't live in the neighborhood. We don't know who they are. I'd also like to mention that as far as the sprinkler fitters union goes, most of these new houses build on the entire footprint of the property. And there's no room for lawns. They don't leave much for lawns or anything, in the way of nice landscaping. So I'm in full support. Thanks for hearing this.
My name is Tyrone Mckillin. I live at 1363 North Orange Grove. I live in an HPOZ. I fully support HPOZs. What I don't support is HPOZs that include areas that aren't necessary, especially ones where there's such a large natural break, such as Fairfax and the properties to the west. There was also a survey done by HRG which showed that a lot of the properties on that side aren't actually going to be impacted if they were to be torn down. It's not necessarily an issue. I'm completely for affordable living for more and more people, and making West Hollywood a better place for everyone to live, not just people who live in an area who want to make it theirs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Cheek with Plumbers Local 78. We oppose the current draft for the Sunset Square Zone. The city requires development that addresses our current housing shortage, that facilitates the creation of well-paying jobs and increases affordable housing. Extending the Sunset Square Zone to the west block of Fairfax undermines these social goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Hurley, Boris Kaplan, Ryan Smith, and Mimi Jacobson.
Sorry, who was the first one called?
Andrew Hurley.
Okay.
In no particular order. Anybody that it called. Andrew Hurley, Boris Kaplan, Ryan Smith, and Mimi Jacobson.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Ryan Smith, and I am representing the property owner at 7900 Hollywood Boulevard. His name is Kamal Singh. Kamal purchased his home about a year ago and was never notified of this HPOZ extension crossing the western border of Fairfax. And he and his wife are opposed to including their home into the HPOZ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Next. Mimi Jacobson, 1629 North Fairfax. Sunset Square is a beautiful area. However, I live on the other side of Fairfax. There's a great divide. In the 50s, they did widen Fairfax. I feel very not included in that, although it's beautiful. My friends always come over and say, it's too bad you don't own a house over there. My house was robbed in May. I have a 6-year-old. I have no schools for her. I'm worried to let her leave the house. I don't ride a bike with her. We have to walk a couple blocks just to feel like we're in a neighborhood. It's been a really earth-shattering arrangement with the robberies and the collisions on that corner. It's constant car crashes. I'm constantly paranoid. I have friends come and sleep with me at night when my husband's gone. I want to take my daughter to a safe neighborhood. where she knows her neighbors and I know my neighbors, and I can go grab some sugar if I want on the corner. So I am very opposed to that side of Fairfax being included in the HPOZ, although Sunset Square is beautiful, and they have an amazing situation on the other side of Fairfax.
Thank you.
I'm Boris Kaplan, but my English not so good. I want my son speak for me. Thank you.
Hi, how you guys doing today? I'm Gennady Kaplan. I'm the son of Boris and Valentina Kaplan. We have lived at 7910 Hollywood Boulevard for 30 years, next to Robert and Mimi, who was just up here. They're absolutely great neighbors. 4 out of 5 of us oppose the HPOZ west of Fairfax. All these people are talking about our homes. It's not their homes, it's our homes. And we have a 4 out of 5. As you can see, our block here, it's all apartment buildings. We're like an island up there. 4 brand new homes that look like Starbucks are built right over here. We have a brand new apartment building that was built probably no less than 10 years ago. There's absolutely no historic sense of our neighborhood. And just want to say this, that we do not oppose HPOZ for east of Fairfax. They have a great neighborhood. They love their neighborhood. And we have no opposition to that, but we do have a position. And if since I'm speaking, I would like just a little more time, since it's our house.
No, thank you. That's the time you have allotted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mimi Jacobson or Andrew Haley, not here. Gene Kaplan just spoke. That was Gene Kaplan, correct? Or is there another Gene Kaplan? Okay. Kenneth McFarland, Gennady Kaplan, Alejandra Magdaleno, and Rob McConnell.
Hello, I'm Kenneth McFarland, and I'm the homeowner at 7914 Hollywood Boulevard. I've lived there for 30 years, and I have petitions here signed to oppose the extension of the west of Fairfax and Hollywood Boulevard in the HPOZ. We are really not a part of Sunset Square, and we don't oppose their HPOZ, but to include Hollywood Boulevard and west of Fairfax makes no sense, especially when Fairfax was widened in the 50s. It separated us even more from the Sunset Square. And not only are homeowners here, but people who aren't even involved in the overlay have signed petitions not to include us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Rob McConnell. I live at 1616 North Orange Grove Avenue, and I'm here to support the HPOZ, the Sunset Square HPOZ. Orange Grove it's 1 block west of, or east of Fairfax. It's a beautiful street with wonderful trees. We have movie shoots there several times a year. There are homes on the street that you would recognize from TV shows and movies. And development I'd like particularly to speak in favor of including Fairfax. Development on Fairfax affects us. I'm reminded of a meeting a few months ago in the neighborhood, sponsored, I think, by Councilmember Ryu's staff, in which there were 100 people who spoke uniformly in favor of the HPOZ, and one gentleman got up and described a building on Stanley that had gone up next to his house. He said this very large house affected not only him 1 block over, but the people on either side of him and the people catty-corner. So development on Fairfax would affect us on Orange Grove.
Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Alejandra Magdaleno, and I live at 7910 Hollywood Boulevard, which is west of Fairfax. And like people before me have said, we are not opposed to the historic preservation of Sunset Square, but for it not to go past west of Fairfax. We are on a block where we are surrounded by apartment buildings, and so we're like separate from what their beautiful houses are, and they are beautiful, and we are for them, but just to leave us out of the overlay. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Fatemi and Julia Duncan from Council District 4.
Hello, my name is Megan Fatemi. I live in the surrounding area. As a homeowner in one of the neighborhoods directly relating to the Historic Preservation Overlay Zone, I feel it is restrictive to my rights as a landowner. In a growing metropolitan city such as Los Angeles, we work very hard for the opportunity to purchase a home. While I respect and admire the architectural makeup of the community which initially shaped these neighborhoods, it should not dictate the future of our neighborhood. I understand restrictions must be put in place for some neighborhood conformity and safety. However, the current ordinances do not help the community or those looking to seek and invest in enriching our communities.
Thank you. Julia Duncan from Council District 4.
Good afternoon, council members. Julia Duncan, council member David Rue's office. The Sunset Square Historic Preservation Overlay Zone has been championed by this community and has been a long time coming. This neighborhood has worked tirelessly over the past 12 years. This motion was introduced in 2004 by former council member Tom LaBonge in order to implement the protections afforded by the HPOZ for the architectural styles in this unique enclave. This community is a treasure trove with a rich history to LA's storied Hollywood past, which has evolved over the past 108 years. The Hollywood Hills West Neighborhood Council supported the adoption unanimously, 18-0, to support the HPOZ, and the original, like I said before, the original motion was introduced in 2004. The contribution rate for the total HPOZ is 64%. There's been some discussion today about excluding the western portion of Fairfax. The contribution of those particular homes is higher than the overall total for the entire HPOZ. It's at 71.24%. Additionally, there's been some mention of future development for those particular properties. Those properties are zoned R1-1, so any future development would be for single-family homes. We're very much support of this HPOZ, and we would appreciate your support today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. One question. The discussion on including the western portion of Fairfax, was that an amendment, or was that the initial study included that portion?
The initial study always studied the entirety of the area. There was a recommendation to include it within the boundaries, but it was always studied by the Historical Resource Group, which was hired to do the original survey.
Okay. So it included the area and was studied from the very beginning,
yes,
even after the recommendation.
And that was that. There's been numerous public hearings about the inclusion of that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions or comments on item number 6 by any of the committee members? No questions or comments? Okay, I'd move that we approve the proposed HPOZ and move it to full council. Is that the correct motion? Anything I need to add to that if I make that motion?
Just if you want to state in addition to the preservation plan.
Okay, in addition to the preservation plan. Okay. Any objections? Seeing no objections, so ordered. Thank you. All right.
Not the preservation plan. Preservation plan. No preservation. Just one correction. The preservation plan has been acted upon by the City Planning Commission. It is not before the council. So just with these.
Okay, so that's not before the council. Okay, well.
And what about the CEQA? The CEQA findings.
Let me correct it then. So the motion is to approve the HPOZ. If I could reconsider that item with no objections, we will approve the HPOZ with the CEQA findings, and that'll be the motion with no objections. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we will go to multiple items, the comment period for that. Those are for people who signed up to speak on more than 2 items, and then we will go to items 7 and 8. And we'll start off with Council Member Paul Koretz from Council District 5. Mr. Koretz, Council Member, I was told you were in the building. Oh, okay. Welcome, Mr. Kretz. You are up, sir. Does he want to speak there? Mr. Kretz, you're welcome to speak from whatever podium you wish. If you want to take one of the microphones on the horseshoe or up there, whatever you wish. Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Or the table. And if I could ask the people who are leaving these chambers, if you could please lower your voice. We are still conducting a meeting here and would appreciate that respect. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Kretz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Before you today is a project in my district which has generated considerable interest. Approximately 2 years ago, the applicant brought up an idea to replace the existing Lomans located at 333 La Cienega Boulevard with a mixed-use project. Members, we all know that we're facing a citywide shortage of market rate and affordable housing. And if there had to be a place where housing could go in with some density, an island parcel surrounded by secondary highways and large buildings seemed to be a good fit. The Beverly Center and Cedars-Sinai buildings, plus the Sofitel and the building to the south, all significantly tall buildings, surround this location. When asked, I told Mr. Caruso what I tell every prospective developer in my district, and that was to go out and get community input. It is apparent that considerable effort has been made to bring everyone in the community into the discussion. After 2 years of outreach by the applicant, the Westbury Terrace Condo Association, closest to the project, which initially strongly opposed, is now in strong support. The applicant worked closely with them to redesign the project to not block their views by making the building taller and thinner, and by adding a number of community amenities and benefits. The applicant also worked closely with the Burton Way Association, representing the neighborhood most closely affected, and they eventually supported the project as well. The Mid-City West Community Council worked intensely with Mr. Caruso over an extended period of time, and numerous community benefits were added at the request of the Community Council, such as designating 10% of the units as affordable housing and making publicly accessible green space available. They voted overwhelmingly in support of the project. I voiced support for the project because virtually all I heard was overwhelming support from the community groups and individuals who were heavily involved, but with the proviso that the applicant still had to have further meetings with the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association, who had a few members testifying in opposition and continue to seek a compromise. Many months ago, the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association had recommended a height of 135 feet, which would require nearly the exact same entitlements that are being sought here today. However, a shorter building would be a high-walled monolith, which was unacceptable to many of the immediate neighbors, including the adjacent condo owners, while a taller building allowed the bulkiness to shrink and view lines to be created, which the neighbors demanded. However, after receiving approval from the Community Council and unanimous support from the City Planning Commission, on December 15th, I met with the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association, and they provided me with a petition with approximately 1,100 names of community members opposing. And now, as I have done on many occasions, I began working with all sides to try to find a common middle ground. I then took a position of opposition to the project as it was proposed to help me push Mr. Caruso to come back with a reduced project. We all met again, and the applicant offered a smaller project at the height of 210 feet. The Beverly Wilshire group offered 134 feet and said they wouldn't budge even a foot. That essentially ended the negotiations since one party took themselves out of the conversation. I took on the responsibility of finding a reasonable compromise between the project that with the supporters asking for 240 feet and Beverly Wilshire Homes looking for 134 feet. I've concluded that an appropriate middle ground between supporters and opponents of the project is 185 feet in height, 55 feet lower than the applicant proposed. That is what I'm asking Plum to recommend to the council. I'm also asking that the committee require the applicant to contribute an additional $500,000 to an affordable housing fund that we'll set up. And I have the amending language which should have been circulated dealing with this issue. I'm insisting that the project keep all the aspects that allowed it to have so much community support, including the following community benefits. 10% of the units designated for affordable housing. Should maintain a design which protects the adjacent Westbury condominiums. Should provide publicly accessible green space at the corner of La Cienega and San Vicente, along with outdoor seating, and enhance crosswalks across La Cienega, San Vicente, and Burton Way, and new bike lanes across San Vicente and Burton Way, and a bike waiting area and safety light, and a new bus shelter on the corner of La Cienega and San Vicente. It would provide landscaping and maintain city medians surrounding the project. It would provide a boardroom made available free of charge for community meetings, enhance the existing landscape plan, provide a LEED certified silver building certification, and now add the $500,000 to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to be designated for use in CD5. I've enhanced the community benefits that somebody supported while addressing the issue that caused concern, which is the height. I'm confident that we have succeeded in finding an appropriate middle ground, and I thank you for that. Also, can I have a minute to address the BMO, BHO?
Yes, and Mr. Koretz, before we go on your proposed amendments, what we received in writing just now is this sheet here.
Yes.
Which speaks to the affordable units, but we don't have any other proposed amendments in writing, although you mentioned them verbally. I'm just wondering if those will be circulated soon as well.
I have the amendment relating to the affordable housing here, if you haven't already received it.
Yeah, we have that one. Okay, so I've been told by your staff that there'll be but you mentioned the proposed changes you might want to make. That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And also on the BMO, BHO, before you today is the culmination of nearly 3 years of work and countless hours spent by community activists, city staff, neighbors, and the planning department. I'm excited to see the final closure of these loopholes that allowed the taking of our air and light, the ridiculous out-of-scale development that was destroying our neighborhoods, and the incentivized epic destruction of our hillsides. Taking on this challenge hasn't been simple or expedient, but the groundswell of support from all of our constituents and from members like yourselves have made what I once thought was impossible a reachable reality. However, as we take the time today to review the work that has been accomplished and hear from the community, I'd like to take this moment to touch upon a few important items that may have been overlooked or not fully explored. First is the garage exemption. We spent a great deal of time on this item, but the importance of this exemption can't be overstated, as one of the biggest issues with mansionization is the bulk of the home being pushed towards the street and the looming nature of the sides of the homes. Incentivizing the garage to be placed in the rear breaks up the massing in front and allows for greater separation between homes. That is why I've fought in the past and request here today that the rear garage be incentivized with a 400 square foot exemption, and those who choose to place the garage in front can do so, but must utilize existing square footage, meaning if it's 400 in the rear and 0 bonus if it's in the front. Regarding the Bel Air overlay, I'm also supporting the Bel Air specific regulations in the hillside construction overlay. We saw unique issues affecting the Bel Air area and single-family homes being proposed at over 100,000 square feet, raising the questions of whether these are truly single-family homes or, as many community members have stated, whether they're being utilized for commercial purposes. We've received reports of large structures being advertised for private casinos, retreats, hotels, and other uses that negatively impact the nature of single-family neighborhoods. That's why I'm supporting an environmental review for all homes larger than 17,500 square feet in the Bel Air overlay, with one amendment. However, a few important protections were left out, so I'm supporting the requests that were made by the Bel Air Association and Neighborhood Council. And those are: only interior work should be done on Saturdays. No heavy or exterior work should be allowed on Saturdays. This is to help alleviate the constant construction that is taking place on small hillside roads and to help a community that has been besieged for the past 6 years. Additionally, earth hauling hours should be restricted to 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday only. These amendments will have an incredible positive impact on the quality of life for my hillside residents and yours. And I ask for your support of these additional requests. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koretz. What we will do now is continue on with the public comment cards and speakers on those items. Mark, hers, or Harry? I can't make out the writing here. Mank, Mark, hers, or Harry? Items 2, 8, 7, 5, and 1. Y. Kramer? Is Y. Kramer here? Yes, and Mr. Englander has a question for the city attorney as that person walks up.
Yeah, before we open it up for even the multiple items, just for public comment, just for a point of clarification, there were, Councilmember Koretz had made some suggested changes, but those aren't before us and there's no motion from the committee. So I do have what I believe I captured in the spirit of what he suggested. To be inclusive as legal language to read into the record as a motion. Would you prefer that that be done prior to public comment? So if there's a second, that's what we'd be voting on, or would you prefer it to be done after public comment?
Excuse me, you're referring to the Crusoe Project?
Items 7 and 8.
Items 7 and 8. The planning department will need that language as part of their direction. However, you can make that at the time the item is being considered. However, for the public, they know that that is in the realm of possibilities and can comment to those recommendations made by Councilmember Koretz at this time.
Okay, so we can make the motion after public comment.
Correct.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Englander. And if you could have an intent to make that motion, if you could make copies in writing for the planning department and others. Thank you. White Kramer, welcome. You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes for which items?
For all your items.
For all my items. Okay. Is that so? That's going to be Crusoe, the Crusoe Project, the baseline mansionization, and
Yes.
my general public comment.
No, your general public comment is separate.
Is separate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I'm going to speak about the baseline mansionization. I support fully counting the garages. So I don't want any of that square footage to be exempted. So I want the strongest baseline mansionization ordinance possible to protect the character and scale of our neighborhoods. Now I'm going to talk about the Crusoe Project, which I live near. The height is excessive. Mr. Koretz just talked about lowering it from 5 times the allowed height to 4 times the allowed height, which is still ridiculous. I would note that this is an SB 1818 project. I do not believe the findings were made by the city with regard to the developer incentives. There was an on-menu and also an off-menu incentives were requested for floor area ratio increases. They used an exaggerated acquisition cost for the property. They used biased alternatives to reach a particular result. The city is claiming that they don't have to make the findings or that they can automatically fine for the developer. The SB 1818 says that the developer incentives, if they're not needed to financially provide the affordable housing to make it pencil out, then they get nullified. Then those developer incentives get nullified. And these two developer incentives are not needed in order to provide these affordable units. Also, Mr. Koretz's land use deputy, when he ran for statewide office, took money from Crusoe and his associates, more than the councilman did. So he should have been recused from this process. I think that's a conflict of interest, or he should have disclosed it. So I'm just very troubled by how this project has been handled, and I'm focusing on the height. The height is ridiculous for my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin Greenberg. After Robin Greenberg is Leah, L-E-A. And then after Leah or Leah is Zumadog.
I
2
have
minutes, thank you.
a couple of CISs. I'm the president of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. I'm going to speak on 3 issues.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you have 2 minutes for these. And this, what are the rules with respect to neighborhood councils, City Attorney? One moment.
Adrian Corsani, City Attorney's Office. They get an increased amount of time at the discretion of the chair. You can add an additional.
So you could speak a minute in each item. You have 3 items to speak on here. So that's 3 minutes.
Thank you. Dear members of the Plum Committee, Councilman Huizar Harris, Dawson, Englander, Cedillo, Fuentes, Councilman Koretz, Ryu, and all of the City Council, and Mayor Garcetti. First, we want to thank our 2 council people who are always there for us, Councilperson Koretz and Councilperson Ryu, and we would not be able to do what we do without them. They totally get us. In keeping with previous letters and actions by the BABC-NC on the BMO-BHO, the purpose of the Baseline Hillside Ordinance is to protect the Santa Monica Mountains from destruction. We support the general recommendations in the code update, including elimination of the under-the-house exemption and the capping and hauling of grading at a maximum of 6,000 cubic yards. Although we are grateful for the elimination of the under-the-house exemption and that a hauling and grading max of 6,000 cubic yards is being imposed, we think the maximum grading limits fail to address the problem in the hillsides that result in truck trips which ultimately destroy our hillside neighborhoods. As a result, while we support this provision, we would request that these hauling and grading limitations be reviewed periodically after further study in regards to the hillside areas. We also feel that the BHO has not been separately sufficiently discussed. It has been overshadowed by the BMO, and not enough time has been given to the hillside ordinance. It is apparent that there is a lack of coordination between planning, building, and safety in the Department of Transportation that has resulted in extensive hauling and grading through the hillside neighborhoods. We think there should be trip fees and verification of the hauling. It is felt that these departments need to be more integrally coordinated to avoid the overlapping of projects in the same area. There should also be additional fees imposed upon import-export to pay for the destruction of the infrastructure. Specifically, construction vehicles need to pay for street damage with a fee levied on each truck servicing the project. This is a use fee relevant to the damage and destruction of the roads by the trucks. There should also be a schedule of performance with construction bonds and appropriate completion bonding. With regard to the R1, the new zone code changes to the FAR, we believe that the new zone code changes increase the FAR without any meaningful benefits to the grading. The soon-to-be eliminated R1 bonuses of 20% had benefits to neighborhoods like green building, proportional stories, or low grading. The new zone code changes increase the FAR again without any benefits to the grading. The purpose of the HRC district is to permit grading elements and hauling standards to be more restrictive. By setting standards for import and export with the yardstick of the proposed BHO, the potential hauling operation is increased and therefore is not more restrictive. The 6,000 cubic yard maximum limitation, while appropriate, is not a calculable reduction in hauling with regard to the other various R zones identified on the attached matrix. Therefore, the limits for the by right grading and hauling limits set forth in section 12.21C.10 effective as of December 1st, 2016 are more appropriate and should be reinstated as a standards for the HRC, but should also include the 6,000 cubic yard limitation.
Perfect timing. LEA, Leah.
actually.
IA?
LIA, thank you. Stakeholder in the City of Los Angeles. Just to be clear, I can go through all three of my issues? My comments? Yes, okay, great. So item number 1, it says the Director of Planning is going to have an oral discussion on work programs. So the Coastal Act provides for a work program, and the City of Los Angeles signed off on that in 1979. I think it's June 1979. And I can't find anything that supports that since 1979. It's actually buried in the archives. So you're supposed to have a weekly status update on it, and that's extraordinarily important in the hillside area of the coastal zone because you have problems with your public sanitary sewers, your public storm drains, and your streets, and your whole face of the coastal bluff is sort of crumbling based on failed city infrastructure. You're also not disclosing earthquake faults, you're not disclosing seismic hazard zones, and people are buying these properties and they think they're fine, and they don't know that you're immune per the Haggis versus the City of Los Angeles lawsuit, makes you immune. Or the Coastal Commission becomes immune because of the Big Rock Mesa versus the Coastal Commission. Or in the La Conchita landslide, the Ventura County Board of Supervisors was also immune. So it's very, very important that people have notice, due process, and information, and they're being denied all of the above. Is that my time?
You have 19 seconds.
And counting. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Please stand up and do the right thing and allow people due process and start to protect the public infrastructure in the hillside areas of the coastal zone. It's required by the federal government, state, and city, and all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Zumadog, Herman, and Puppet. Zumadog here? Not here? Okay. Herman? And then Puppet? Just as a reminder, this is for items on the agenda that you have signed up
Goddamn
for.
right, it's item 7 and 8, and you skip me up on 6, fool. So what I'm gonna go back to 6 is, don't switch and bait poor Mr. Caruso on his project, fool. You guys know what's up, switch and bait. Now I'm gonna go to 7 and 8. Nobody really fucking cares about 145 units because of the housing crisis in LA, fool. Mr. Dawson, make sure you get a good picture of me because I haven't lost my hair like that commissioner fool up there, that schwug. That schwug put a lot of people on the streets. That's why we're fighting over an inch of property lines on height. So don't confuse yourself, fool, because it's all about item A, B, C, D for dummy, like you, big dummy. A minimum of 1 unit shall be reserved as a very low income unit for 5% out of 145 units, fool. And you want the government to give you a loan? The hell with you, Weezer. Back in 2008, fool, you kicked me out of my home and put me homeless.
Sir, if you're going to address the council, you know very well you come to.
right.
Can you let me finish? Herman, let me
Hold my
finish.
time, fool.
Let me finish. You know the rules here. If you address this council and these committee members, you address everyone and you do not address your comments to a particular member. Those are the rules.
That's right, Schwag. That's why I'm sticking to the topic, 7 and 8, because it reflects how Plum fucks up the plans of the city. Density and gentrification. It harms the millennium. I'm not a millennium, fool. I'm your age, fool. Better looking than you, fool. And that's the reason why I stand here today, because I'm in protest in opposition of all the plum, fucking up our city, fool. So you better get your shit together, because when I come in here, I want to be heard. First Amendment, 14th Amendment, hey, hold my time, fool. Hold my time. The people upset at you, fool. That's why I keep calling you fool, because the people object to
Sir,
you, fool.
you have out of order. You're not speaking to any of the items you signed up for. Thank you.
That's right, NW.
Puppet?
from, he was bought off the shelf. He has a barcode on his ass. That's what he buys, yes. So Caruso's here, the owner of the puppet Corettes, and I'm here with my owner, another puppet. And today is a puppet meeting. 2 minutes on 8 fucking items. They don't want to hear from us. They got their campaign donations. They don't want to hear from us. They have their tower, a big tower on La Cienega. Oh, how lovely. Yes, that's just what we need, a liquor license and a store and a bunch of apartments at $3,000 a month. Oh, that's affordable housing. But before Mr. Mack passed away, you remember Mr. Mack? He said he wanted 10% of affordable housing on the fucking project. You gave him 5%. At least in the honor of John Mack, make this fucking developer give 10% affordable housing on that goddamn project. Because we have to have people affordable housing. I mean, you guys are bought and paid for. You can't give the public 10 fucking percent set aside on affordable housing on a spot zone. In March, when the voters pass Measure S, they won't be able to do this for up to 5 years. So he's getting it under the wire. And that's all because, you see, bought and paid for councilmen, bought and paid for commissions, bought and paid for mayor equals people without power. And that's why the city sucks. And that's why 2 of you councilmen on this panel are being served with lawsuits because you're so fucking stupid. So that's the reality, the puppet rules. Thank you.
Herman, you're disrupting this meeting. If you're going to continue to clap, you're going to be asked to leave. You understand? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to say a few words. For those of you who just witnessed public comment, and I want to thank, and I've done this a few times, I want to thank particularly our soldiers who are fighting overseas to protect our freedoms of speech. And you've just witnessed some of that. And for those of you who have been here, and this is your first time here, just by a show of hands, if this is your first time here to a public meeting in City Council, so there's a few of you that have probably not witnessed what we get to experience each and every day. In fact, it's the same folks. It's those 2 guys show up to every single meeting, to every single commission, and do the same thing day in and day out. And that's their freedom to do so. So unfortunately, some of you are exposed to that as we are, but that's their right to do that as well as your right to speak as well. So just wanted to share that with you, and I appreciate all your patience for being here and having to listen to that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we could call to order, well, before I call to order item 7-8, I do want to state that after the multiple items, agenda item was called to order, we got some cards to speak on that. We usually close the period to speak after that item has started. So for those of you who turned in cards after the multiple agenda item what came up, you will be given a minute on item 2 or 3. I think it's of your choosing, whichever one of those you want to speak on when those items come up. So items 7 and 8, can you call those to order, please?
Item 7, Councilman, this is a report from the City Planning Commission and an appeal by the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association. This is the appeal on the vesting track map, and it's for a mixed-use development project consisting of 145 residential units, along with affordable housing that is being included as part of the project located in CD5. Item 8, these are the other land use entitlements, the general plan amendment, the zone change, and the high district change. Again, same location, but in this case, there's 2 appeals. One appeal by the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association, and the second appeal by Joseph Bourgeois from the Southern California Environmental Justice Alliance.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Huizar and honorable council members. I'm Alejandro Huerta with the Major Projects section, and I'm here to present the 333 La Cienega project to you. On November 18, 2016, the City Planning Commission certified the EIR approved CPC 2015-896 GPA VZC HD MCUP ZV DBSPR and granted in part and denied in part appeals of vesting tentative tract map VTT 74131-1A for the construction of a mixed-use project consisting of 145 residential units with 5% of the permitted base density set aside for 7 very low-income units and an additional 7 non-density bonus units for moderate-income households. The project also includes a 27,685 square foot grocery market, a 3,370 square foot restaurant, and a 6,910 square foot privately maintained, publicly accessible landscaped plaza. Appeals of the City Planning Commission's actions were filed on December 1st and December 5th, 2016 for the master conditional use permit, variance, on-menu density bonus incentive, site plan review, the vesting tentative tract map, and the EIR by the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association and the SoCal Environmental Justice Alliance. Staff has prepared 2 appeal response letters. On January 5th, 2017, the Department of City Planning received a written request from the applicant to modify the unit count and associated conditions of approval for the project to set aside 5% of the permitted base density for 7 very low-income units pursuant to LAMC Section 1222A25, 1 additional non-density bonus unit for a very low-income household, and an additional 6 non-density bonus moderate-income units. We support this modification to the project and accordingly recommend that condition numbers 18 and 20 of the determination for the vesting tentative tract map case and condition numbers A-2, A-6, and A-8 of the CPC case be modified to reflect the change in affordability to the very low income and moderate income units. In addition, for further clarification, we recommend that the delimitation condition number 1 relative to the FAR be modified to reflect the on-menu and off-menu density bonus incentives. In light of the modification to the unit count and changes to the conditions of approval, the City has determined that, pursuant to CEQA Section 21155.1, the 333 La Cienega project is a transit priority project that meets all the requirements to be declared a sustainable communities project and is therefore eligible for a full CEQA exemption. Staff transmitted a report explaining in detail how the project qualifies for this exemption. This report was posted on January 5th, 2017 to Council file. In addition, Planning recommends that Council include a condition of approval to require the project to achieve 15% more energy efficiency than required by Title 24-2016 standards. As such, Planning staff recommends the changes to the conditions and direction from Council to amend the findings to reflect their actions. Thank you, and staff would like to reserve further comment following public comment and to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Anything to add? Anything else? Okay, we will now begin with the public comment, unless there are any questions. Yes, Mr. Price.
Thank you for the report. How long are these units going to be affordable? The 7 and 7?
The conditions of approval require that the units be covenanted for a period of 55 years.
Okay. Both sets?
All of them.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's 2 appeals here, so we'll start off with the appellants. The first is Josh Bourgeois on item 8, who has appealed that item. You have 5 minutes as an appellant, and then we will go with the second appeal, Sabrina Verskas. That's the representative for Richard Plotkin and Alan Rifkin, you have 5 minutes as well. Welcome.
Am I good to start talking?
Yes, go right
All
ahead,
right. Good afternoon. My name is Josh Bourgeois. I'm with the Golden State Environmental Justice Alliance, formerly, as you mentioned, SoCal Environmental Justice Alliance. In order to avoid redundancy, I won't take up too much time. We still stand by our original comment letter from July 5th of 2016 in response to the Environmental Impact Report. And we still believe that the Environmental Impact Report has major flaws and should be redrafted and recirculated for reasons in said comment letter. Again, I thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Sabrina Burskis, Richard Plotkin, and Alan Rifkin. Have a total of 5 minutes as the appellant. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Sabrina Venskis. I'm an attorney with the land use firm Venskis & Associates. I represent the appellant, Beverly Wilshire Homes Association. This project begs the question of why have a planning and zoning code at all? This developer needs 8 discretionary approvals, most of which are legislative. Why? Because it violates the general plan, specifically the community plan. This is what's allowed by the community plan, 45 feet. This is what the developer wants, and this is actually the 185-foot project. Compare that. This middle project would be what the developer would be allowed to build under Alternative 2, analyzed in the EIR, which would be by right, needs no entitlements, and this would be an SB 1818 project. He could go 61 feet. This is what we request. This is what the community wants. Not something like this. This is not okay. The community plan is democracy in action in the land use planning context. The community plan states in itself on page 1.4, over a period of 2 years, community participation was initiated through more than 40 focus group meetings. Over the next 2 years, additional community participation was encouraged during 5 public workshops and 2 open houses. Then another 2 open houses, followed by public hearings were held. The City Planning Commission reviewed and proposed the plan in 2001. City Council approved it in 2000 and later in 2001. This is democracy in action. It is the community plan. This is what the community wanted, and this is the law, and this is what the developer is asking. When you have a developer come and ask for special favors to deviate from the democratic tool, which is our community plan, you denigrate democracy. You create cynicism in the process. You create anger amongst citizens. This is not the way to plan our city. So we would ask that you approve either Alternative 1, which is a medical center, and in fact, Mr. Crusoe stated to us that he has been approached by Cedars-Sinai and asked if they could repurpose his building there at 333 La Cienega for a cancer center. That's the kind of thing that we want in our community, and that's Alternative 1 under the EIR. Again, could be built by right. I'm going to allow... I just want to say in conclusion, and then allow Mr. Plotkin to speak because we have so little time left. Spot zoning is detrimental from a public policy perspective. This is spot zoning because it erodes faith in the planning system, which is designed to further democracy and land use. The whole purpose of the general plan and the city's charters in particular means that the city should be planned comprehensively by all, democratically. Spot zoning engenders the pernicious practice of legislative bodies such as planning commissioners and city council members swapping the increased land value resulting from a spot zone parcel in exchange for donations to an upcoming political campaign or a pet nonprofit. Please uphold and respect democracy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dick Platkin, I'm a member of the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association Board. I have a short statement. I gave it to the clerk for you to read, so I'll defer to Alan Rifkin, our transportation consultant, for the remaining of our 5 minutes.
My name is Alan Rifkin. I was requested by the Homeowners Association to do a peer review of the traffic study. I found that the traffic study was deficient in reporting traffic impacts, particularly at 3rd and La Cienega, and I believe that that may result in flow-over impacts to other areas, including the residential neighborhood represented by this Homeowners Association to the east. No study of the traffic in that neighborhood was done in the traffic study, and so I would urge you not to approve and certify the EIR. Thank you.
Since there's a few minutes left, let me repeat 1 or 2 points for my comments. Los Angeles, through the community-based community plan process, has already identified a number of nearby sites where high-rise luxury buildings such as this are allowed by right. For example, a half a mile to the south on Wilshire Boulevard, there's unlimited height and the Purple Line extension, which will open in 2023. Several miles to the west is Century City, where there already are many buildings like this. Our argument is, if someone really wants to build a high-rise luxury building, it should go where the plans have intended it to go, not in this location.
Thank you. Okay, we will now hear from the applicant, Rick Caruso.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your time. I have a long personal history on this site. I spent my childhood here, washing cars during the summer for my father. It was the first location for Dollar Rent-A-Car. And it was the first property that I owned personally, and it was the first property I ever developed. So I have a special place in my heart for this property and for this community. We have spent 2 years working with the community, including our immediate neighbors. But equally important, I have been involved in this neighborhood for over 30 years when I first built 333 in 1992. We have partnered with Mid-City West Community Council from the very beginning. They have been exceptional in dealing with, and they have challenged us at every step. And through that process, the board has overwhelmingly approved this project, and their leadership is here today to express their support. We also have planning staff has recommended approval, and we have received unanimous approval from the City Planning Commission. We are in agreement with our councilman to bring the project down to 185 feet. My team has submitted a new Exhibit A with the new height. But what I am most proud of is that the major things that this project contains we got right from the beginning in working closely with the community, and we will not compromise any of the community benefits. The open space, the bike and traffic improvements, the community room, 10% affordable housing. All of the community benefits that this project started with at 240 feet will remain, as we have agreed with the community and the Mid-City West Community Council. We have also been asked by the councilman to provide $500,000 to help with affordable housing throughout the city. On the way here to downtown, I saw dozens of people, as we all do, living in the streets. I am happy to provide the $500,000. I have been leading and supporting the efforts on homelessness for over 20 years on Skid Row and have donated millions of dollars to support those efforts. So that is only consistent with the belief system of myself and my company. In addition, we are agreeing to be LEED Silver building, and to further improve sustainability, we are agreeing to offset 100% of our greenhouse gas emissions. This project and our partnership with the community will set a new precedent in the city for mixed-use projects. High design, public benefits, environmental sustainability. We have nearly 100 supporters here who took time out of their day to travel to City Hall to show their support, and I would ask them to briefly stand to be recognized. I don't know if we can clap, I'm sorry. I want to thank them for their partnership. I want to thank you all for working with me and my team to ensure this project fully reflects the community that we serve. I also want to thank Councilmember Koretz and his team, as well as city staff, for their leadership and guidance through the process. With that, I respectfully ask you to approve this project today, and I will be here to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, now we will continue with the public comment. Each speaker has 1 minute. Danielle Moskowitz, Clark Carlton, Rosalie Wayne. After Rosalie Wayne is Diana Plotkin. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Danielle Moskowitz. I'm a resident and a longtime owner at 145 South Harper Avenue. I am here of my own free will, and I have not been paid by the developer to be here. For too long, this project has been proposed to the community as something that we can endure. It's far too large, and the scope is beyond what the community can handle. It is clear this project privatizes the benefits for the developer while the community pays the costs. Please vote no on the project as is being proposed. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Clark Carlton, and I represent over 200 homeowners in the area of North Beverly Grove. We are absolutely opposed to the Crusoe Project on La Cienega Boulevard, which is officially one of the 50 busiest intersections in Los Angeles. A tower of luxury apartments will only make traffic worse, as each of those units will have at least one parking space. We object to the further Manhattanization of Los Angeles with projects that will increase density in areas that were originally planned as quiet suburban neighborhoods for single-family homes. It is dishonest. It's BS to use something called spot zoning to allow for this building, which undermines the credibility of all ordinances. It means that billionaire developers don't have to follow rules. It would also set a dangerous precedent of allowing more skyscrapers where they're not wanted in this horizontal city. Mr. Crusoe should move his project to areas set aside for buildings over 8 stories.
Thank you. Thank you. Rosalie Wayne, Diana Plotkin.
My name is Rosalie Wayne. I live at 8140 Blackburn Avenue. I have the 1,100 signatures that Councilman Koretz told you that we collected of people opposed to the project in the area. One of the big reasons that we oppose this project is because it sets a precedent in an area that is limited to 45-foot buildings. If you approve this project, then across the street and down the block, there are other parcels that are waiting to come in and build tall buildings. If you redo the plan, the community plan, and this is what's decided we should have, then we'll live with it. But we are protected by a 45-foot building allowance. And so we opposed the 240 feet because of the height and the precedent, and now you're saying 185 feet, and that is a precedent. Please do not support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Diana Plotkin, Harold Hahn, David Kirsch, Jennifer Flax.
Diana Plotkin, president of the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association. We're here today to ask you to say no to this project. It's one of the most egregious spot zoning examples this city has. At 240 feet, at 170 feet, it is still not proper in a 45-foot height limitation zone. This compromise is a joke. This guy has no right to build a 245 feet or 177 foot luxury apartments with a few that are supposed to be affordable housing. Option 2 gives you complete affordable housing. It gives you mixed use, and that's the option that we would support because we need affordable housing in our community. We do not need luxury housing. It's pay for play all over again, gentlemen, and we ask you to say no.
Thank you. Harold Hahn? Not here?
My name's Harold Hahn. I am president of the Burton Homeowners Association. We are the immediate neighbors to the west and south of this project. We support the project. One of the big problems we have with any kind of changes, we were surprised to hear of the proposal by Councilman Koretz at 185 feet. We have an idea where that 185 feet comes from. It comes from a recent building at Cedars-Sinai, which is a research facility at 185 feet, which is a large, dense building. We haven't seen what the proposed building will look like at 185. We are concerned now, and this is right off the top of my head because we haven't been able to study this, that we're going to get a fat, squat building at 185 on this rather sensitive area. We support actually the taller building because it is a slender building that will not impact our views. We also believe that as a residential property, it does not have the impact that a commercial property would have, because if this is denied, Mr. Crusoe can go forward and develop this as a full-fledged commercial development with far greater impacts on the community.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Kirsch, and then Jennifer Flax.
Good afternoon, David Kirsch. I'm the Executive Director of the Carpenters Contractors Cooperation Committee, which is comprised of the Carpenters Union and the Union Contractors. I'm here to show our strong support for this project. We're very happy to be able to partner with Mr. Crusoe and his company on this exciting project. The community, the applicant, the staff, they've worked hard on this project to have a good project that's going to create good paying jobs for our people throughout our community with apprenticeship, with training, with benefits. You're going to get a project that makes sense, provided needed housing, affordable housing. It's an innovative project that's going to fit well into the community and create sort of a project that continues a vision for LA that's sort of a creating community and allowing the creation of good jobs and benefiting our community. So again, we're very happy to be able to partner with this company, with Crusoe, and continue to be able to work together. So we urge your support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Flax, Keith Nakata, David Toll, and Scott Epstein.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Flax, and I'm a longtime resident of this neighborhood. And I'm here today to express my strong support for 333 La Cienega. Los Angeles is in desperate need of more housing. There aren't enough units to meet current, much less future demand. And without enough market rate housing, the cost pressures will be felt at the lower and middle markets as well. I also support this project because we need more transit accessible developments like 333 La Cienega, which adds density and enhances live-work connectivity, being within a mile of a major fixed subway line. For all of these reasons, along with the significant community benefits this project will deliver, I support and I encourage you to support the 333 La Cienega project. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is David Toll. I represent Jabber Original Holdings and the Toll Family Trust. We own the property immediately to the north of Mr. Crusoe's project, 8500 through 8522 West 3rd Street, formerly 301 South La Cienega. We've owned property on La Cienega for over 67 years. I too, just like Rick, grew up working on the Captain's Table restaurant, which was located there. We've got a lot of history, and we want nothing but the best for the area. We own a number of additional lots and commercial properties along La Cienega. We're in complete support Mr. Crusoe's project. I've seen him work bending over backwards to work with community councils. He listens to them. He's taken into account their comments, concerns. He's addressed them all with design elements to give them a bit more of a view, added amenities, including the park settings. Please approve it. It's a great project. It'll bring a lot of class and it'll upgrade the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Nakata, Los Angeles. Today I speak in opposition to the current proposed project at 333 La Cienega Boulevard, as not an appropriately scaled or the best use of the site. It totally subverts the existing community plan by rewriting the zoning on this site. This project reflects the corrupt pay-to-play system of overdevelopment in the city of Los Angeles. I have dubbed this project the Son of Seabreeze because it reflects the same abuse of campaign funding and pet projects that have become a standard way to do business in the city. It uses money to rewrite the underlying community plans and zoning and creates out-of-scale projects that lack the proper infrastructure. I personally support EIR alternatives 1 or 2. Crusoe personally mentioned that he was contacted by Cedars-Sinai, and I support the repurposing of the existing building as a cancer center. The American Cancer Society has stated that in 2016, over 1.5 million new cases of cancer were diagnosed in America. It remains a devastating disease that we need to continue to fight vigorously. This use is far more beneficial use of the site adjacent to the main Cedars-Sinai campus.
Thank you. Scott Epstein, Lynn Cohen, Randy Murphy, Josh Rudoy.
Mr. Chair, I'm the chair of the Mid-City West Community Council, which is the official LA City Neighborhood Council for the area. Could I ask for a little extra time, please?
City Attorney.
We give extra time per the rules for organizations or neighborhood councils with recorded statements or any if they're here to report on a formal vote of their body. So otherwise, it's limited to regular public comment.
We've submitted a letter to all the council members on the committee.
So do you fall within the requirements for the community impact statement, or are you the representative?
I'm the chair of the council. I'm the official representative, yes.
I leave it to the discretion of the chair.
This is a Mid-City West Community Council. That's an officially recognized neighborhood
yes,
council?
Yes, the name is Community Council, but we're one of the 96 neighborhood councils in the city of LA.
And you submitted a statement that was an official vote from the neighborhood council?
We did, to the Planning Commission and to yourself and the other members.
On a vote from the neighborhood council?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. So I'm here to express the strong support of our council for this project, and one show of the support are the gentlemen behind me, 6 other board members here, Mark Sinnott, Mehmet Berker, Josh Padgett, Keith Kirkwood, Nick Solish, and Mark Siegel all support this project. This project was supported by a 22-6 vote in our council. So why did we find it to be such a good project? Well, number one, our council is very concerned about affordable housing, and we highly value mixed-use projects that do not displace anyone. We have one of the highest LS Act eviction rates in the city, and so projects like this, where you can add housing without displacing people, is of great value to us. We thought that there were some of our members that were concerned about the height, but overall we felt that this unique location that does not back up on residential and is in an island could handle the density and the height. We're also very pleased about the inclusion of affordable housing in this project. We think that sets a good precedent. We value having a mixed income community. Crusoe Affiliated has also committed to making a host of improvements surrounding the project that will make a very complicated location that's the intersection of 3 major streets much safer to navigate by bike, walking, and transit. And also the inclusion of public space in an area of Mid-City West that is not walkable to any public parks whatsoever. So for all of these these reasons, we strongly support this project as currently proposed. And affordable housing was really the issue that our council members were most passionate about. We see the cost of housing increase. We want people to be able to remain in our community. And so I think many of our members would be concerned if the changes to this project reduce the total number of affordable units that we can leverage out of this private development. So I ask you to consider that as you move forward with the process. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There's a question from one of our committee members.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Is the proposed project solely within your specific neighborhood council boundaries?
It is, sir. We represent Beverly Grove as well as the Fairfax District and Miracle Mile, and this project is close to Beverly Hills and West Hollywood, but is solely within the city of Los Angeles and in Mid-City West.
And is it adjacent to another neighborhood council that's across the street or next to it?
It is not.
Okay.
Sir.
So you're it?
We are it. Yes.
Right. Okay.
That's right. And we're also the biggest council in the city. We're 35 members.
30.
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
That could be good or bad.
The fact that you actually
Democracy
came
at its
to a
best,
decision
right?
on this,
Exactly.
I compliment you on that. So, no, that's fantastic. Okay. And that's quite a representation you have. So thank you for being
Thank you
here.
for the question.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very
Just a
much.
side note, we had a Ball Heights Neighborhood Council, which actually ended up, it was fairly large, and they ended up breaking up, they had quadrants that came up, but they got a smaller membership now because of lack of not being able to come up with consensus. So congratulations.
We do our best.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the compliment.
Lynn Cohen, Randy Murphy, Josh Rudoy.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm Lynn Mckillin Cohen. I'm president of the Miracle Mile Civic Coalition and president of the First In Fire Foundation. We find the project at 333 South La Cienega to be exciting, innovative, and very transformative. We consider this project to be a gateway to the Miracle Mile. Our board met with the team with Crusoe for over an hour and a half, studied the project, and unanimously support this project. I have a letter of support that we've sent in to you, and I'd like to submit another copy. We find with this corporation that relationship matters. Our motto is working in the spirit of cooperation. Crusoe and all of his team get that. They have earned our respect the old-fashioned way, by earning it. Working in the spirit of cooperation means we always like to work with corporate good neighbors who understand that they promise less, but they do more.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your consideration for this project.
Hi, my name is Joshua Rudoy, and I live in the Beverly Grove neighborhood with my wife and 2 children. I've been a homeowner in the neighborhood for 10 years. I'm also a longtime board member of the Wilshire Rotary Club, where many of our members live in the surrounding communities and support the 333 project. I'm here today in absolute support of 333 La Cienega because, frankly, I love our community and support good projects that will make it even better. The Crusoe team has worked with residents like me, along with our neighborhood council, to make this vision our vision. I've seen firsthand Crusoe's flexibility, passion, and desire to work with the local community in ensuring this project provides the best outcome for all the parties involved. I respect the opinion of the project's opponents, but they do not represent the future or the broader community. It's time to move forward. The city is transforming for the better, and there is no one more qualified to assist in such a transition than Rick Crusoe and his company. I took time off from work because I feel so strongly about this project in our neighborhood. Thank you, Councilman Koretz, for listening to the majority of your constituents. Please approve 333 as it stands here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Randy Murphy again. Is there Randy Murphy? Not here. Stuart Waldman, Jessica DeBoe, John Holland, and Adam Lane.
Good evening. My name's Stuart Waldman, president of the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. representing over 400 local businesses and nonprofits in the region. FICA strongly supports mixed-use development projects that benefit our neighborhoods by providing housing and quality retail shops that advance our economy. LA is facing a severe shortage of both market rate and affordable housing. Projects like 333 La Cienega provide a leading example of the kinds of solutions the city needs to benefit our community. The project will add new rental units, including units set aside for very low-income and moderate-income renters. FICA applauds the developer's commitment to funding off-site improvements, including new crosswalks, bike lanes, and street furniture, as well as investing in landscape and maintaining the surrounding city medians in perpetuity. FICA encourages you to consider the many benefits the community would gain if this project is passed, and I hope you support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Duboff. I'm with the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber supports this project for the obvious reasons, but I'm excited to be here today as a resident as well. I've lived at 335 South Clark Drive for the last 8 years. My father grew up around the corner from this project, and I can remember my grandmother walking me to the old Beverly Connection for a candy bar and a movie. This neighborhood has changed over the years, but it's always maintained its vitality, diversity, and sense of community. This project will only add to that. Part of what I love about living in this neighborhood is once I'm home from work, I never have to drive. I walk to the Trader Joe's across the street from this project. I meet with friends for brunch at the Larder, both of which are in a Crusoe building across the street, which is successful because of Rick's efforts to work with the neighboring community. He's done that with this project as well. I'm excited about what this project will bring to my community: affordable housing, neighborhood amenities, open space, and safer intersections. So on behalf of both myself and the Chamber, I urge you to support the project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm John Howland with the Central City Association. CCA is proud to support the 333 La Cienega project. Rick Crusoe has one of the best track records of any developer in the city of Los Angeles. His commitment to include affordable units along with major off-site improvements to the surrounding streets is an excellent example of how development should be done. In addition, this project will add much-needed new housing to the city at an intersection of 3 of the city's most iconic streets. And speaking from personal experience, I was a consultant to the Americana brand project in Glendale in its early stages. I was able to see the dedication to detail that Crusoe affiliated has, and it's impressive. But more impressive is Rick Crusoe and his team's outreach to the communities around his projects. He is tireless in meeting with neighbors, as you've heard, and addressing their concerns, listening to what they need and what they want. He and his team were diligent to listen to the impacts and to lessen those impacts of these projects. This work is shown here through the overwhelming support of most of this project's neighbors. CCA urges you to support this project.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Adam Lane. I'm the legislative director at the Los Angeles Business Council. We're truly excited this will be the first project in LA to meet the energy and water efficiency standards of SB 375. For 47 years, the LABC has held its annual architectural awards, and our members can truly attest to the high-quality design of Crusoe projects, and this project continues their history of developing both aesthetically pleasing projects that fit well into the community and provide a benefit to the community. Most importantly, the project provides key features that address several of our most dire needs in the city. It will help meet emissions reductions goals by implementing a public transit program for its employees. It's being located less than half a mile from the new Purple Line station, and it includes EV parking. It will address our lack of green space by adding 7,000 square feet of park space open to the public. And perhaps most importantly, 10% of the project's housing will be affordable. We feel this project will truly provide a benefit to the surrounding community. We thank you for your time, and we respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you. Lauren Markle, Jose Ramirez, Chris Hannon, James Pinazzo.
Good evening. I'm Lauren Markle. I'm with Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation. We're a public benefit nonprofit, and we're dedicated to raising standards of living for all LA County residents. And LAEDC is strongly in support of the 333 project for a variety of reasons. The developer has included many elements to create a more livable community, including infrastructure improvements that help public safety. There are public spaces to encourage neighborhood use, and we also like the good housing density that is accessible by light rail. And additionally, we applaud the affordable units the developers set aside. And we agree that to solve LA's housing crisis, we will need housing units at all levels, market rate and affordable. Otherwise, there will be upward pressure on all the affordable units in town, and then the affordable units become less affordable. So, and finally, we think the developer has an excellent track record of doing great work that benefits LA. So the LA EDC asks that you support this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, Commission members. My name is Chris Hannon, Council Representative for the Los Angeles Orange County's Building and Construction Trades Council. Wanted to stop by here and testify on behalf of the quality of the jobs that will be provided by this project. We have an agreement with Crusoe to provide the highest quality jobs in the construction industry, to have apprenticeship opportunities, and to start careers for Angelenos. With over 140,000 members of the building trades, many of thousands of them live right here in the city of Los Angeles. This is a good project, and we support the approval of the project and moving it forward to the City Council. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jose Ramirez, and I am the Executive Director with the St. Francis Center, and I am pleased to offer my support for the proposed 333 La Cienega project. Our center has been providing much-needed programs and services for homeless and near-homeless families in Los Angeles for over 40 years. The Crusoe-affiliated team has made an impact in our community over the years by volunteering with our homeless programs, serving meals, and interacting with our homeless guests. I believe their time volunteering as a group at our center helped expose the team to the needs of the homeless community and the families who have been affected by our city's housing shortage. Lack of affordable housing options for families have contributed to the increased number of families and children that we now see at our morning breakfast service. But here lies an opportunity to address this vital need. The 333 La Cienega project would offer 10% on-site affordable housing for these families and has the ability to set a precedent for what responsible and equitable development should look like in our diverse communities. Now, I've worked with many developers on community benefit agreements and development agreements over the years, and getting developers to agree to on-site affordable housing is never easy. But here's an opportunity to do so and affect change in a major way. In conclusion, I'd just like to say that I offer my support for the project and applaud the efforts of the Caruso-affiliated team for not just investing in a building, but investing in a community.
Thanks. Thank you. James Pinazzo.
Hi, my name is James Pinazzo. I'm Executive Director and founder of Launch LA. We produce a free music and arts program in the Miracle Mile District and have for the past 15 years. I'm a past membership director of the Miracle Mile Chamber of Commerce and have been very involved in the neighborhood, seen many changes, positive changes over the years, and would like to just offer my support for the this project and all the wonderful things that Crusoe Affiliated's done in this neighborhood and other neighborhoods throughout Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I go on, I was told that some people might just want to state their support or opposition for the project. I'll call your name if you want to stand up and say you support the project or oppose it. In the interest of time, we could do that as well. So just if anybody wants to do that, you're welcome to do that. Caroline Stein. Father Albert Constantine. And Gabe Rose.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything you said. Did you say you could just stand up and say you're...
In support or oppose if you want to. Yes.
Or I can be fast.
You can do whatever you wish.
Yeah, I'm a business owner in the area, and I wholeheartedly support the project. I believe that the benefits it brings outweigh any issues of height or scope. We're talking about replacing a building that's outlived its use, and we're being given the opportunity to have a beautiful and productive replacement that will have benefits for the residents and neighborhood. It's going to be cleaner and safer for myself, for my customers, and for my employees, and for the neighbors. It will be a fantastic area where people can actually walk to what they need and actually cut down on a certain amount of traffic in that respect. It provides desperately needed housing. And you can complain about the Manhattanization of Los Angeles, but the reality is that our population is growing and we need the housing. And it's being provided to us by someone who truly cares about Los Angeles, who works with the neighbors and who wants to make a positive impact on those who live here and those who visit. And I encourage you to support the project. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Father Albert Constantine with Our Lady of Mount Lebanon Cathedral. We are across the street from the proposed project, and we are fully in support of it. We have been in this neighborhood for 53 years. We worship there, we live there, and we cannot think of any better alternative than what's being proposed right now. Thank you for your time and service. We urge you to please approve the project.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, council members. My name is Gabriel Rose. I'm a resident of CD5. I'm a member of Abundant Housing Los Angeles, here to strongly support this project. If we can't get projects like this done, we're never going to get out of our housing crisis in Los Angeles. Our renters, like me, are suffering enormously. Working people, young people. We want to stay in the city. We need to stay in the city, but we can't afford it unless we build more housing. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Paul Witt, Michael Ishmoili, Philippe Cohen,
Michael Ishmoili. I live across the street from this project, and I fully support it. I think this is an excellent project. Not a good project, but excellent project. Thank you.
Paul Witt, Philippe Cohen, Christine Stevens, Ravi Bhatia, Elisa Gold.
Good afternoon. My name is Philippe Kohanim. I'm a longtime president of Westbury Terrace Homeowners Association. 11-story, 83 units high-rise building located at 321 South Sammy Center Boulevard, directly across from the project. We strongly support this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. What was your name? Christine Stevens. Okay.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Ravi Bhatia. I'm a decade-long board member with Mid-City West Community Council, where I'm also a Zone 2 representative and the current chair of its Planning and Land Use Committee. Mid-City West is made up of 7 zones to reflect the diversity of residents and the stakeholders at large. I'm here to express our board's strong support for 333 La Cienega. Nearly 80% of our board voted to affirmatively support the project. Crusoe brings a high standard that our neighborhood deserves and worked in collaboration with the community to incorporate suggestions that were made into the final project. Crusoe worked in good faith with Mid-City West. Community engagements were robust and polarized on both sides. Hundreds of opinions were offered over many long public meetings. I'm running out of time. The $500,000 that is going to go into the fund, that's 1.43 units. Including housing of all rates in projects is the solution to LA's problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. If we could, if I call your name, you could stand up and just say you approve or don't wish to speak or disapprove. Otherwise, you would need to come up to the microphone. Thank you. Paul Witt and Elisa Gold. Okay. David Kirsch, Mitch Ponce. Not here. Shomari Davis. Oh, you spoke already as well, right? Yeah. Angela Guyman. Angela is coming up. Scott Pearson. Amy Gallaudet. Shally Wagers. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Angela Guzman, and I am speaking on behalf of myself, even though I am part of the 20% of Mid-City West who've voted for opposing this project. I oppose the proposed ambitious project mainly because the height restrictions are not within the confines of the area and they are out of requirement. Even though there are these proposals by Mr. Koretz's office, at the 185 feet is still too high. So I just want to let everyone know that I oppose this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Weezar and the honorable members of the Planning Commission. My name is Scott Pearson. I'm a business agent for Plumbers Local 78. And the Los Angeles Building Trades Council has entered into a new partnership with Rick Crusoe to build this project. The trades are excited to be a part of this project, and I approve this project, so thank you.
Thank you. Amy Gallaudet? Shelley Wagers? Mary Lou Sewart, did you speak already on this item? No, you're fine.
Well, Mr. Chair, I need to rescind my request to speak on this matter because I need to speak on item number 2.
Okay, your
Thank
name
you.
again is Shelley or Mary Lou?
That's correct.
Shelley, right?
Yes, thank you.
Edward Smith? Sumi Mishima? Dr. Josh Albrechtson? Roy Afusia, I think may have spoken already. Sir, how do you pronounce your last name?
Quickly. It's Albrechtson.
Albrechtson, thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, my name's Dr. Josh Albrechtson. I'm at 750 Spalding, Miracle Mile. I'm going to read you from a newspaper article. 700 people attended the hearing, including 70 residents of the Beverly Fairfax area, which is the site of the proposed subway station. Many of them arrived at the packed hearing room in City Hall with small flags that said no to Metro Rail and a cardboard sign with the words, "No way LA subway." If the Metro Rail is built, the problems that we would suffer is tremendous, said Diana Plotkin, Vice President of the Beverly Wilshire Homes Association, citing traffic and parking problems. That was August 2nd, 1985, LA Times, when they delayed the subway 40 years. Next article, neighbors collect, developers find peace at a price, February 26, 1989. Beverly Press, 3rd Street, war, neighbors versus restaurants. Don't let them keep doing this. Do 240 feet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Toby Horn, Stephen Luffman, Mark Leventon.
Good evening. My name is Roy Afusia. I'm here at my own free will. No one's paying me. Didn't get a meal to be here. I'm here to represent the Sprinkler Fitters, Local 709. The Los Angeles Building Trade Council has entered a new project with Rick Caruso to build this project. The Sprinkler Fitters are excited to be part of this project. On the behalf of our members, hundreds of who live in the city of Los Angeles, please consider moving this project forward to vote for this full city council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, honorable council members. My name is Stephen Luftman. I am a board member on Mid-City West, though I am speaking for myself today. This project is the newest poster child for what's wrong with planning in Los Angeles. It's pay to play in the purest form. While I applaud the additional $500,000 for the affordable housing, certainly more money could be added. Mr. Caruso purchased this property for a reported $300,000 in the 80s from his father. That's about $600,000 in today's money. So let's at least up that number to $600,000, what he paid for it. I ask you to act honorably. This project should play by the rules, not pay by the rules.
Welcome. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Toby Horn, 146 South Fuller. Mr. Caruso has devised a brilliant plan for 333 South La Cienega. He has offered in at least 4 meetings, and in 1 or 2 of those with Councilperson Koretz, that if he does not get the entire 240 feet, he says it doesn't pencil out. So less than 240 feet is not feasible for him. The alternative to him, and he has stated so repeatedly, is that he would rehab the existing building and lease it out either for medical purposes or for other businesses. Mr. Crusoe donated millions to USC for an ear, nose, and throat institute. To accommodate his generosity, they renovated an entire floor in a 4-story building on the Keck Medical Campus. That is a very similar principle to rehabbing the existing building that he owns on La Cienega. This is a brilliant idea. He could be considered a visionary if he stuck with this commitment. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Amy Galladay. I live at 6120 West 5th Street, and I oppose the project. I don't live that close, but I have a lot of business dealings there, and it is the most congested artery in the whole city. Can't even cross the street by foot, which I get there by foot because you can't get there by car. The intersection is blocked with cars. There is no more room for a project like this. We also need to think about health issues and about all the pollution that it has caused. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Mark Leventon, not here. Okay, Mark Leventon, Jesse Ayala, Gus Torres, and Steve Mayer. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm an attorney, and I've lived in the area for most of my life. I've owned several homes in the area. I'm now living at 8500. The building itself, the 8500 building, is magnificent, clean, the beautiful area surrounding it, and the way he's kept it up, the Crusoe Corporation has, it's spectacular. I've watched the area, though, in the years I've lived there, decrease and get a little weakened. Mr. Crusoe is going to really, in my mind, I don't mean to elaborate on this, but he's going to take and make Washington Square in Los Angeles. That area is going to become a gateway between the fountain and the park that's going to go in there. To get separate from the building will just make the area itself literally a doorway to West Hollywood and the La Cienega area. Please approve it. It's a magnificent project, and it should go through.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, my name is Jesse Ayala. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am representing the Sheet Metal Workers Local Union 105, and here in support of the project, a project that is going to create careers for young men and women coming into the construction industry, a project that is going to stimulate the community, a project that is going to hire local residents, a project that is going to pay decent wages for the employees that are going to work on this project, not only for the construction workers, for every employee that will work on this project. We are in support of this project along with the building trades. We ask you to support the project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gus Torres, business rep for UA Local 250. On behalf of our 4,900 members, which consist of welders, pipe fitters, refrigeration, and apprentices, we're 100% in support of this project. So we would really appreciate it if you guys approved it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Godfrey Washira, Creed LA. On behalf of the 40,000 members we represent, we fully support this project and hope you'll approve it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Mayer, and I wish to express my opposition to the proposed project as being too big and out of scale for the area. This area should be centered upon reinforcing the Cedars-Sinai campus, a teaching medical center of excellence for the West Coast that attracts worldwide patients, clinicians, students, and research. From an economic impact basis alone, the financial benefit to the city would be far greater in supporting Cedars-Sinai's growth than of a spot development, including developing high-paying jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. If we could get staff back up to the table, please. Okay. So I will open it up for questions or comments from the committee members. And first and foremost, there was a suggestion by Mr. Koretz to reduce the height, and I just want to be clear from what to what?
The Exhibit A, as approved by the City Planning Commission, allows for a total height of 240 feet. And as Mr. Koretz has indicated, he would like the residential portion of the building to a max height of 185 feet.
Now, if we do that and we take Mr. Koretz's recommendation, does that change the composition of the type of uses in the building?
So no changes to the uses are being proposed. So the analysis that was undertaken with respect to CEQA will fully cover the scope of both the intensity of land uses and the reduction in the height.
Including the affordable housing component?
The affordable housing component, the way that we're asking for Plum to consider changes to the language is to maintain a 5% of the total number of units for affordable housing purposes, and this is done to maintain the project's qualification for the statutory exemption under the Sustainable Communities provisions of the Public Resources Code. So even if they were to pull permits at a later time for development of less than 145, the 5% will stand on the development. And then we're also requiring that the moderate income units be maintained irrespective of the changes in the density for the residential portion.
Okay.
So as it stands now, I just want to add, there is a comment about the 10% affordable.
One second. So you will, the motion, the suggested amendment by Mr. Koretz does not cover the 5% and the moderate income issues that you just raised, correct?
No, that's our recommendation.
That's your recommendation on those two? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
And so there was a comment about requiring that the project maintain a minimum of 10% affordable. With the 145 units proposed right now and the moderate income and the low income, the project is providing 10% of total restricted affordable units.
Okay.
Unless there's other questions, I can continue.
Can you continue on your comments, and then we will go to Mr. Englander. Go ahead.
There is a comment by one of the speakers that the project did not make density bonus findings with respect to the on and off menu incentives. That's incorrect. The density bonus findings are on page F21 of the CPC's recommendation, or letter of determination, excuse me. The state density bonus law no longer requires that a pro forma be prepared in order to substantiate off-menu waivers. This is still in our local municipal code, however, and the pro forma is only necessary to demonstrate that the incentives are necessary in order to provide the affordable units. The pro forma was conducted in compliance with our procedures, and there was also a third-party review which otherwise confirmed the assertions of the first pro forma. So we stand by the findings that were prepared by the City Planning Commission, and they were before you today as to the requirements of meeting the code 1222A25 for off-menu incentives. There was a comment by one of the appellants, I think it's Joseph Bourgeois. He's basically stated that he stands by his comment letter to the EIR. I want to state for the record that we fully responded to that EIR comment letter, and it was proved erroneous in the final EIR. He then submitted the same letter to CPC on appeal to the track map, and he provides that same letter to you now on appeal of the CPC's actions. The appellant has failed to provide any evidence disputing the assertions or other conclusions in the EIR, and is otherwise mocking your intelligence by continuing to submit a regurgitated letter that offers no evidence to the contrary of our assertions. There was a comment raised by the second appellant as to the spot zoning. So I just want to confirm that the project's general plan amendment to general commercial is consistent with the pattern of development and land uses adjacent to the project site, including the northeast, east, and south. The City Planning Commission made findings asserting our position that the project is consistent with the Wilshire Community Plan, and courts have consistently deferred to decision makers to make findings of consistency with adopted policies, plans, and recognize that no single project will meet every individual policy in an adopted plan. In this instance, the Planning Commission has recommended findings of consistency for your consideration. They found that the amendment to the community plan continues a pattern of development, locates land uses and zoning near and jobs and housing near a transit corridor with public transit service that serves over 30 million riders collectively per year just in this vicinity of the project alone. The appellant also provides a traffic study by Mr. Rifkin, or I should say a peer review. I want to state for the record that the traffic study that we prepared is not deficient, and the peer review prepared by Mr. Rifkin lacks substantial evidence disputing the factual assertions of the study. Despite having access to hard numbers in the EIR, Mr. Rifkin's peer review instead challenges DOT's established methodology for evaluating and assessing traffic in the city, which, as you know, is consistently tested in all of our projects. No evidence has been presented that disputes the conclusions of the traffic study, and instead the peer review mischaracterizes the operational characteristics of intersection, argues that using ITE rates for markets is inappropriate for the proposed market. The peer review, at best, is a weak and lazy attempt at challenging what is otherwise a strong traffic analysis for the project. And the project as proposed, I should restate, does not have any significant or unavoidable impacts to traffic. The only significant and unavoidable impact as identified in the EIR was construction noise. The appellant further argues that you should consider alternatives 1 and 2 as identified in the EIR. Perhaps the appellant was mistaken, but alternative 1 is the no project alternative. The alternative 2 is a mixed-use development, including medical office and residential. As the appellant was incorrect in stating that it was a by right project, this project would still require a site plan review, and that's a discretionary action. Moreover, this project would, this alternative 2, would result in significant and unavoidable impacts to traffic. And I think that's it. So unless you have any other comments, that concludes our comments on the testimony.
Okay. Mr. Englander?
Thank you. I have comments not necessarily to staff, but I think to everybody here. I think, and from what I've seen, and I've read a lot on this project, and I've watched the process, that, quite frankly, I believe that this project was over-politicized in the media, as well as with some people in the community. I've also seen, and being a member of Plum, Councilmember Koretz and what he's done. In fact, I took one from his playbook when I got elected, which was that any applicant or developer or proposed project that comes to us, we ask them not to, but to go out to the neighborhood councils, to go out to the local stakeholders, the homeowner associations, the businesses, those impacted and affected directly in that neighborhood, and get their support. Go work with the community to find out what works within that community by the people in that community. Mr. Koretz did that in this situation. The applicant, Mr. Crusoe, followed that instruction. Not only did he do that, he did it well, with a neighborhood council who has, I think, from what I've heard, I believe the largest membership of any neighborhood council, or certainly one of the largest in the city of Los Angeles. The fact that they actually came to an agreement and a consensus to support the project in and of itself is fascinating. But it also speaks volumes about the project. The fact that so many people came out to testify in support of this project, I think, is a testament to the process. I have a project currently right now in my district where I had over 100 people last week come out to picket my office. I joined them on the picket line because I actually don't have a vote on the project. I don't have a vote on the project because it's part of the community plan. The developer's asking for nothing. No concessions, no changes, no modifications. I don't have a vote on it. In fact, the community plan, which was just updated a year and a half ago during an 8-year process and over 30 public meetings, that the community is behind. And yet, now they come in by right. This is actually a project by right, with no changes, and this developer, in this case, is still willing to work with this community. So, it's very difficult oftentimes when you have any project coming before us. And it's very easy to politicize the process and say, somebody made a contribution or somebody did something else. The bottom line is we have a project that actually went out to the community. We have a council member that I believe, and I actually asked him about this the other day, that has a 100% success rate with making sure he backs every neighborhood council decision in his district. That too, I would say, is not completely rare, but unique. So with that, in listening to the discussion here and some of the changes and modifications, I crafted what I believe captures the suggested changes both by the council office, the community, and much of what the planning department brought forth. And I'm going to just read it into the record, if you'll allow me. So with that, and I've just circulated to some of the staff members as well. A is to determine that the project is exempt pursuant to Public Resources Code Section 21155.1 as a sustainable communities project as presented by planning staff. B, to certify the EIR. C, to adopt the related environmental findings, statement of overriding considerations, and mitigation monitoring program prepared for the project EIR with modifications consistent with the information provided by the applicant and staff, and to reflect the reduced height of 185 feet with revised Exhibit A. Number D, to grant in part and deny in part the appeals to allow changes to the conditions of approval and CEQA findings. E, to modify the conditions to reflect the reduced height of 185 feet, applicant's revised Exhibit A, and other changes as recommended by the planning staff. F, to amend the conditions to require that the contribution of $500,000 to the Los Angeles Affordable Housing Trust Fund as circulated by Council District 5. G, approve the condition proposed by the applicant to offset 100% of the greenhouse gas emissions from the project. And finally, H, to instruct the planning to modify the CEQA findings consistent with Plum's actions. That's my recommended motion, and I'd ask for a second.
Councilmember Englander, I'll second that, and I think you need to amend that to state that you're recommending, well, you got that, the approve part and deny in part.
I do.
Of the appeals,
yes.
Okay. And the two recommendations from the planning staff, can you reiterate for this motion the issue on the 5% for
Right.
affordable?
So what we would like to see is that the condition language for the residential density clarify that irrespective of the total residential development, which is not to exceed 145, that a minimum of 5% of very low income units be maintained on the project. And that's in addition to the moderate income units that will be maintained irrespective of the project site. And then to include some language in the conditions requiring that 5% of the very low income units be provided so that the project maintains its eligibility for the statutory exemption. And then the addition of the language for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, that the height be consistent with the revised Exhibit A, showing 185 feet for the residential portion. That will be in the delimitations of the project. And then also in our presentation earlier today, we requested instruction from you to allow us to clarify that the FAR is up to 6-to-1 with the on and off menu incentives through the density bonus request.
Okay, if you could help us and summarize that into a motion that could be incorporated into Mr. Englander's motion. So how would we state that if we make that into a motion?
So you would modify the conditions of approval to reflect the revised height of 185 feet for the resident.
Just the two additional recommendations.
Just the 5%.
Oh,
just the
so
5%.
the 5%, so that in addition to, so to maintain 5% of the project site at very low income to maintain the statutory exemption.
Okay.
And the
And
other one.
that was
That was
what you said, regardless of
irrespective of the project size.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Not to exceed 145 units.
We will incorporate that into Mr. Englander's motion. Yes, Mr. Harris-Dawson?
You mentioned something about the moderate income housing. Does that need to be included
Right,
in
and
this
then
as well?
it proposed as right now, it's 6 moderate income units. Those will be maintained irrespective of the project.
Okay, so we will incorporate those two. into Mr. Englander's motion. And is someone from CD5 here? One second. I want to clarify that. Mr. Bayless, these two recommendations from planning staff, any comment on those from Council District 5? There you are.
Council members, good evening. Faisal Sari here on behalf of Councilmember Koretz. We are okay with all of those conditions.
Okay, great, thank you.
One more, sorry.
Yeah.
We presented this in the beginning. We recommended a condition of approval requiring that the project achieve 15% more energy efficiency than required by Title 24, 2016 standards.
Any comments on that?
No objection.
No objection, okay. So we will incorporate those three recommendations from the planning department into Mr. Englander's motion. And you incorporated in your motion, Mr. Englander, the earlier circulated affordable housing amendment by Mr. Koretz, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's in there, okay. And that's been seconded. Mr. Price?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank everyone for their participation, patience and participation this evening. Certainly it's been a robust discussion about a project that's going to provide 145 much-needed housing units in the city. Clearly, we're still a long way from meeting the mayor's goal of 100,000 units, but unfortunately, given our antiquated zoning code and the outdated community plans, it's much more difficult to get housing projects approved than it should be. However, relief is on the way. Under the new leadership of the planning department and hundreds of new hires, we're looking forward to approving several plan updates in the months to come. But for now, we need to deal with the cards that we've been dealt, which paints a very uncertain future for both proposed developments and the communities they impact. To that end, I'd like to recognize the efforts of Mr. Crusoe, his team, the neighborhood council, the neighbors at the Westbury Terrace, and other stakeholders for working together, for doing their outreach to work with the community to address these concerns. As our city is growing and bursting at the seams, it sometimes seems impossible to find compromise that creates a win-win situation. However, I believe that some thoughtfulness went into the design that creates an open space for the local community and pedestrians to enjoy, as well as a 10% set aside for affordable housing and much-needed construction improvements across the street. However, I do hear the concerns that some of the proponents have voiced in regards to the 240-foot height of the building, and I'm happy to accept Councilman Koretz's proposal to reduce that height, as agreed to by the developer, to reduce the height to 185 feet. This will keep the building in sync with other surrounding buildings like Cedars-Sinai and the Beverly Center. Change is tough, but as shown here today, the development is a dynamic process, and I believe this compromise is a positive product of that process. And while it's impossible to appease all interests, I applaud the leadership and efforts of Mr. Koretz and Mr. Crusoe in working with the local community and most affected parties in developing a compromise and this project. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I support the approval of this project with the proposed amendments from Councilman Koretz as restated by Councilman Englander and others.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Price. Any other questions or comments from committee members? Seeing none, okay, we will now, has been moved by Mr. Englander.
And then we have to adopt all the other related items.
Okay. We will, there's a motion on the floor, stated by Mr. Englander, that incorporates the three additional amendments from the planning department, and we have some related language that we need to adopt along with that motion, correct? Where's my CLA? There you are. Okay.
Adrian Corsani, City Attorney's Office. So your motion is to adopt the recommended actions by the CPC except as modified by your motion today.
Yes, there you go. Any objection to that? See no objection, so
Chair.
ordered.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair.
Who's
The clerk.
City Clerk.
Is this
both for items 7 and 8 the same recommendation?
Good question. Do we have to have a separate, the motion as made will allow us to have taken action on both
Yes,
7 or 8?
for 7
as
and
stated?
8.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
So both 7 and 8, the appeal is denied part and granted part.
Yes. Good question. Last time we were taking action on 2 items and it didn't apply the motion we were making, so good question. Thank you. All right, so we will approve the motion as stated by Mr. Englander without objection. So ordered. Thank you. Okay. Roberto, where does that leave us on the agenda? What do we have next?
Back to everything else. So, item 2, 3, 4, and 5 still need to be acted on.
Okay, and I believe, finding my notes here, we want to take items 2 and 3. Here it is. Okay, we will now take items 2 and 3 together.
Okay, so item 2, what you have before you is a city attorney prepare ordinance.
I'm sorry, hold 1 second. Let's see, I'm looking at this. No. 1 second. I'm looking at the, we taking those together or separate? Yeah, separate. Yeah, we're going to take those separate. We'll take up item 2 now.
Okay, so
Thank
item 2 is the city attorney prepare ordinance on the baseline mansionization ordinance and the baseline hillside ordinance. And that ordinance is before you.
Thank you.
Council members, there's a revised version that was transmitted to you today that I mentioned earlier in the meeting.
There's a revised version of the final ordinance that was submitted today by the city attorney's office. And when was the previous one sent over, just so we distinguish the dates in which
That was
version
a
we're-
week ago.
A week, okay, so there was a new revised version submitted today on the final ordinance. Thank you. And now over to the planning team, planning staff.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening. Tom Rothman from the Planning Department. I'm going to briefly present to you the baseline mansionization and baseline hillside ordinances that this committee had previously seen back in November and referred to the city attorney. So this is for your final review. This is case file 140656. So this BMO, BHO as it's more commonly referred to, Mansionization Hillside Code Amendment, proposes a number of changes to the standard R1, the single-family zoning, and also some minor changes to the other single-family zones we have, RA, RE, and RS. Just quickly, the most significant changes for the R1 zone relate to the bulk and size of single-family homes. The residential floor area, more commonly referred to as the RFA, has been reduced in this ordinance to 0.45 of the lot size. And we've also made some changes to our definition of what RFA is. We have removed, as requested by the motion, the 20% FAR bonuses that had previously been allowed. And we've also introduced a recode feature called the building envelope with an encroachment plane and a sidewall articulation to help prevent the bulk massing and height that has been perceived by the overbuilding of single-family homes. So the next slide will briefly show you what the encroachment plane's intent is. So for just a refresher, the encroachment plane works to reduce the feeling of bulk by pushing the massing towards the center of a house after a certain height. So really, it doesn't require a certain look, but it does require that after a certain height of 14 feet that the second floors be pushed in a little bit. And another refresher on what the sidewall articulation is that this is a requirement that helps to break up the massing along long sides of the facades. So that's just a refresher, and I'm here to answer any questions about BMO and BHO.
Okay, any questions now for the planning staff from committee members? Okay, we will now go into public comment on this item. Thank you for that presentation. And I have here some individuals who submitted cards under the multiple agenda item portion of the agenda, but were submitted late, and you submitted cards for 2 and 3, so I will ask if you want to speak on either item 2 or 3. We are in item 2 now, so if you wish to speak on 3, let me know, and I'll shift over your card. Stephen Bratman, you wish to speak on this item or 3? This one? Okay. Are you Mr. Bradman? Okay, you going to speak on this item? Okay. Lorraine Kirsten? 3. Dr. Ana Serrano? Okay. George Gama? George Gama, not here? Okay. Welcome, Mr. Bratman.
Thank you all. I've lived on South Crescent Heights by Airdrome since 1950, since I was 2. It's a lovely Spanish-style architectural neighborhood. I'd like to keep it that way. Please support a strong ordinance that includes front-facing attached garages to be considered as part of the square footage, with the aim being to retain a buffer on the sides. And I see the new encroachment idea will also help that. I like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Barry Johnson from the Studio City Neighborhood Council, and you have 3 minutes, sir. Your council has submitted, we have CIS on file. 3 minutes.
We've submitted several CISs over the last 2.5 years, and really it's all come down to the garage issue. We support what Councilman Koretz said today in terms of an amendment that all 400 square feet of an attached garage would be counted, not just 200 square feet. You know, we've really reached a point where we need some teeth, and 200 square feet is not enough teeth to help us on this. You know, every time a large house gets built now, we lose the driveway, and that's losing space that we've had for decades between houses. It's changed the character of our neighborhoods for the worse. And, you know, all I can say is please don't let a couple of hundred spec builders destroy the neighborhood character of 600 to 700,000 single-family homeowners. And that's what you will do if you don't give us this 400 square feet, counting this 400 square feet of an attached garage. And just lastly, I just want to say a couple of different spec builders have told me off the record in various different times since a Studio City RFA was enacted, which brought the size down of a 4,000 square foot home by maybe 500 or 600 square feet. And they've said, you know, we save a little money on 500 or 600 square feet on the building, but we end up selling it for just as much as we did before, and in some cases even more. So it's like nobody can say that this hurts anybody's ability to make a profit. The houses sell for what they sell for, and it's not about size, it's about that there's a demand for them. So please take into consideration the rest of us that have been in the neighborhoods for decades and what you're potentially putting us up against with these huge houses. We need relief, and we need it with teeth this time. Thank you.
Thank you. John Southern, Marion Dodge, Kathy Simonek. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is John Southern. I'm a licensed architect and educator with 10 years of experience in hillside construction, and I live in CD 13. I oppose the current revisions to the VHO on the principle that they are technically insufficient to provide guidelines for architects and builders for the hillside areas. Please restore the full 400 square foot exemption for garages regardless of location for sloping hillside lots. It is not technically possible to put the required 2-car covered parking anywhere but in front of the home on a majority of hillside sites. Raise the starting height of the encroachment plane on sloping lots to 24 feet so as to allow for a properly designed 2-story hillside home with minimal grading, restore the understructure grading exemption to 100% of the total understructure excavation for hillside lots regardless of street designation or lot type, increase the height of the proposed side yard plane break from 14 to 20 feet on sloping hillside lots, and eliminate the side yard plane break on hillside lots of substandard width. Do not reduce the guaranteed minimum residential floor area from 1,800 square feet. If you add the garage in, you get a house that's 400 square feet. It doesn't work.
Thank you.
And retain all existing exemptions for substandard lots and
Thank you.
hillside streets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I'm Marion Dodge, chairman of the Hillside Federation. First, I'd like to thank council members Koretz and Rue for moving this forward to close the loopholes in the BHO. We are very thankful that the amendments are reducing the grading to 1,000 cubic yards, reducing the FAR to 0.45, reducing the guaranteed minimum RFA to 800 square feet, including institutions in the BHO, including basements in the RFA. Attached garages should count as RFA in the front. The Federation would still like to have the planning department map the one-to-one slopes. We still need that done. So these amendments will help preserve the character of the individual neighborhoods in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
Hi, Kathy Simonek. I live in Larchmont Village, 15 years. Block captain and on the steering committee for HPOZ for Larchmont Village, Larchmont Heights, sorry. Just hope our process won't take as long as the 12-year process we witnessed earlier today. We are in line with closing some of these loopholes that people can't bulldoze their way through, of tearing our neighborhood apart. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck Ryder, Robert Silverman, Adrian Scott Fine.
Hello, Plum Committee members. I'm Chuck Ryder, Council District 10, Crestview. Again, I'm in agreement wanting very much that you count the front-facing attached garages as floor space. Very important. Your Plum Committee members before you, your forebearers, did exactly with this amazing building that we want you to do with our little houses. When you drive in from the east, the first major downtown building you see is the tower, that beautiful deco tower with a little red light, especially visible at night. And then what you have, in correct proportion, is a space cushion. And then you have the skyscrapers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, distinguished council members, Councilmember Cedillo. My name is Robert Silverman. I'm a resident of Lower City 5, Westwood Century City to be precise. I strongly oppose the revised BMO that has been sent by the city attorney. I implore upon you all to go back to the BMO that you proposed so brilliantly in Plum about a month or so ago at 50% of the lot size with the full 400 exemption for the garage. That's a very fair compromise to the initial BMO before the ICO came into effect. It's a fair compromise. It's not overreaching, nor is it too much. And I strongly implore all of you to please look in your hearts under altruism and do what's right for the community to keep the development going and not punish homeowners who didn't have a chance to build a home, that bought a home, that wanted to have a growing family, and all elderly parents move in later in life. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Adrian Scott Fine, Mary Louise Morgan, Nina Royale, and Michael Levitt.
Good evening, council members. Adrian Scott Fine with the Los Angeles Conservancy. This is an issue that affects many of our members. We have over 6,500 members, and this is an issue that has resonated perhaps the most in recent years in terms of its impact on livability, historic neighborhoods, character, all the things that people have come to enjoy about older and historic neighborhoods. I want to thank the planning staff who have worked really hard to get us to this point. I also want to thank Councilman Koretz for his leadership in really taking the charge and making sure that this would happen. Our ask at this point is really simple, and it's about the amendment that Councilman Koretz brought forward earlier tonight or today, whenever that was. And that's about counting the garages. Make garages count. We would like the full 400 square feet counted as part of the square footage. And we think that alone will strengthen this to a point that this will be a strong but also balanced BMO, BHO ordinances going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Louise Morgan. I live in Council District 5. And I take this opportunity to thank Koretz and the Planning Department for all the work they have done in revising the baseline mansionization ordinance. The amendments look as though they're in very good shape. However, there is one key issue that still needs work, and that is the attached garages, and they should be counted as floor space. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ina Royale, not here. Michael Levitt, Linda Whiting, Debbie Gagan, Rochelle Koretz.
Good evening. My name is Michael Levitt, and I'm a 26-year resident of Pickfair Village. I enthusiastically support counting the square footage of any front attached garage and the total allowed square footage of the house. This will help maintain the character of the neighborhood where most houses were built in the late 20s and early 30s. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Whiting, not here? Unless that's Linda.
Rochelle Koretz. You called my name, but I don't know if I'm in order.
Come on up. That's fine.
I'm here to thank everyone for their time. I am here to support the full 400-foot counting on a front attached garage. I'd like to see it counted on all garages, but what I want to do, I want to see side driveways. And if we don't give the developer the incentive to put the garage in the rear, by exempting the rear, we're going to end up with front garages if both are exempt. I just wanted to stress that point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Linda Whiting, Council District 10, 30 years. I support the front attached garages being included in the square footage of the house. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Debbie Gahn, CD10. I want to thank the Planning Department for all their hard work. They've really worked this community, and I appreciate that. I'd also like to say that the BMO has come a long way, and we're almost there. Just please count the front attached garages as part of the square footage of the house. Thank you.
Brad Jewett, Kathy Roberts, Diane Ezel, Robert Ezel.
Hi, my name is Kathy Roberts. I'm from CD4. My neighbor, Brad Jewett, had to leave due to childcare issues, but he does support the revised BMO, as do I. Thank you for the .45 FAR, for the removal of exemptions, and I would like the 400 square foot of the attached garage to be counted. In addition, I support the single-family zone for La Brea Hancock, and it is important to note that one block of our neighborhood is considered part of CD5, strangely enough, and it has a different FAR than the rest of La Brea Hancock, and we'd like it included in La Brea Hancock. It's the 300 block of South Citrus. Thank you.
Hello, Diana Isley. Thank you for all of your time. I'm here once again to support the amended BMO and single-family zone for La Brea Hancock. Please close the loophole and count the square footage of the front attached garage towards the entire square footage of a new home. Please understand, we have never been against development. These guarantees will go a long way to perhaps allow our children to live in a home in the neighborhood in which they grew up. We want young families to be able to afford to live in La Brea Hancock and go to neighborhood schools. We love our neighborhood. It is a unique and vibrant community. And for the record, my block, the 300 block of South Citrus, was annexed to CD5 in the last redistricting, but we've been promised to be included in the new La Brea Hancock R1, R3, RG single-family zone. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Robert Isley, Vice President of the La Brea Hancock Homeowners Association. 8 of us were here. 4 had to leave. All of us support the amended BMO and the new single-family zones because we don't want to see a Los Angeles where only the wealthy can afford to live in their McMansions. That's also why I'm asking you to count all the square footage of an attached front garage toward the square footage of the house itself. No loopholes to expand the size of these McMansions. Please move the amended BMO and new single-family zones, including La Brea Hancock's, to City Council for their prompt enactment. And already for the record, it's been mentioned about the 300 South Citrus block, which we're told is going to be included in our zone, and we hope that happens. Thank you very much for all the hard work that all of you have done, particularly city planning. Thanks, guys.
Daniel Moskowitz, I think spoke on, may have spoken already on the multiple items. Barbara Savage, Shally Wagers, Diane Gross,
I'm Stephanie Savage, but I was speaking on item 3.
Okay, we'll move you over there. Thank you. Shally Wagers.
Yes, thank you. Less than 2 months ago, dozens of people came here and spoke in support of meaningful reform on the mansionization ordinance and the need to count attached garages as floor space. The support today is even broader than it appears from comments because a lot of us have had to choose one item or another to speak to. Amendments to the mansionization ordinances are finally in good shape. We do have the one remaining loophole that very much needs to be addressed and needs to be closed. That is the attached garage space. The front-facing garages disrupt the look and feel of many LA neighborhoods. They add 400 square feet of uncounted bulk, and they eliminate the buffer of a driveway. Planning Commission President David Ambrose in the July hearing put it best: square footage is square footage. Half-baked compromises ruined these ordinances the first time around, and we can't repeat the mistake. Thank you.
Diane Gross. Frederick Pohl. Ruth Scribner. Jane Galbraith. And Elisa Solomon.
I just want to clarify, can we speak on both 2 or 3, or we have to choose one?
You have to choose, and apologize, those are the rules, and I stay consistent with the rules.
You know, these things overlap, so it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, you could go back and forth.
Okay.
You choose your 1 minute, they are related.
I'll choose number 3.
Yeah. What was your name again?
Ruth Scribner.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jane Galbraith, and I'm here as a resident of Rocha Vista, and I'm here to support both baseline home mansionization amendments, and also ask that you include the 400 square feet in the attached garage as part of your revised ordinance. I would say that we were very fortunate to have an ICO in our neighborhood. We had people who were very active. We had one house go in, and that is all that it took for our neighborhood to galvanize to get an ICO. And we really don't want our wonderful neighborhood, which is going to celebrate its 100th birthday in 2021, to be ruined by these horrible boxes. And we love our neighborhood, and we love its character, and we want to keep it. So please do make that one amendment. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Alyssa Solomon. I live in the Wilshire Vista neighborhood for 26 years, and I support a strong BMO and feel that the square footage of front-facing attached garages be counted for the total square footage. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorraine Ike. Stephen Cochran. Michael Ferguson. Clark Carlton. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Lorraine Ike, and I support a strong BMO and feel that the square footage of the front face and attached garage should be counted.
Thank you.
Good evening, Steve Chokran. I filled out item number 2 in error. Please move me over to number 3. Steve Chokran. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Clark Carlton representing the 200 homeowners of North Beverly Grove. The planners for our historic area made a wise choice to set garages in the back with an actual driveway. This provided a buffer between houses and maintained a pleasing structure, not overwhelmed by the unattractive bloat of an upfront garage. We are 100% opposed to a revised BMO that does not count an attached garage as a part of its square footage. The McMansions, which have attached garages, are an unsightly disruption and contribute to the outlandish character of these outsized homes. The garages of the McMansions in my area are seldom used to house cars, but are used as a photography studio, a bootleg preschool, a 6th bedroom. If someone converts their garage to another kind of room, would it still be exempt? Not counting attached garages is a loophole, another weakening of the BMO. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Aquino, Philip Messina, Tamara Berger. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Amy Aquino. I live in CD4, and I'm Vice President of Sunset Square Neighborhood Organization. I want to thank you for your support of our HPAWs, and I want to speak strongly in support of the amendments to the BMO. But like Councilmember Koretz, whom I thank for his leadership along with Councilman Rue in this, I beg you to eliminate the 400 square foot exemption for garages. Bloat is bloat. It doesn't matter what's inside of it. In addition, as somebody who stares daily at a black glass and steel double garage door from my 1915 landmark bungalow, I can tell you that no other single feature of these McMansions has more of a negative effect on our neighborhood integrity. It reduces our residential streets to what in any other real city would be considered an alleyway. That's where they keep them. So if you feel you must allow them at all, which I wish we didn't, please don't, at least don't give them away for free.
Alexis Rappaport, Tracy Considine.
I'd like to offer these pictures as part of my testimony. Can I have them attached to my card? Is that possible?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Go by and pick them up from you.
My name is Alexis Rappaport. I have lived in Lower CD5 for the past 14 years, and I'm also a LEED accredited designer who is absolutely in opposition to the old bonus areas and favors building smaller and more efficient houses. I do, however, not support this BMO specifically because of the reduction of the garage exemption that incentivizes garages in the back of properties. I would like to suggest, considering in the context of the already reduced amount of buildable area, this further reduction of actual livable area is not necessary to build contextually appropriate houses, even if the garage is in the front of the property. It also works against the city's attempt to reduce impervious surface areas by adding roof area and hardscape. Further, it impedes homeowners from making the decision to maximize the amount of greenery in their lives and the benefit of their outdoor space in our wonderful climate. I offer pictures and area analysis of these two different properties in my neighborhood that are well-liked and contextually sensitive. I ask that you reconsider this part of the BMO and
Thank you.
keep the 400 square foot exemption for garages regardless of their location.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tracy Considine from CD10. Thanks for getting the BMO draft to this point. It's great, but needs one more tweak to get it right. Please heed Mr. Koretz's proposal to count square footage of front-facing attached garages. For those neighborhoods that want something different, the new zones will offer alternatives. Please do two things tonight. On agenda item 2, adopt a strong BMO counting attached garages that face the front. And number 2, for agenda item 3, adopt the new zones as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes our public comment for this item. And colleagues, I just want to remind ourselves and remind the public about how we got here with this item, and actually all the way through items number 6 today. This is a package of key policy items that we've been working on in one way or another for many years, and they each address some area of our citywide effort to shape home building that is more characteristic and appropriate to our single-family neighborhoods. This dates back to 2014 when planning submitted a neighborhood conservation report that detailed a plan to address these issues of neighborhood character. We adopted several ICOs to keep development in check while these new regulations could be crafted. We're now on our way to replacing the ICOs with carefully designed, highly specific regulations tailored to each individual neighborhood. And today, as we heard just now, we heard about the baseline mansionization ordinance and the baseline hillside ordinance, which this committee heard in draft form late last year. And today we are looking at the final ordinance. And so with that, I'd like to ask if there are any questions or comments on this item. The last time we looked at this, we looked at it in draft form. We sent it to the full council. The full council made some changes. Those changes and suggested changes went back to the city attorney, and we have a final ordinance now. Although there's been some discussion about changing the garage issue, and I think there may or may not be additional changes on the council floor because there are some differences of opinion with respect to that on the full council. So I would recommend that this committee adopt the final ordinance as is and send that to full council, and then if at that time the council wishes to take up the issue of the garage, to debate it in full with all the full council, because it will most likely be discussed at that time. So we'll take the final ordinance as is, adopt it, which I think is a huge victory for protecting the character of our neighborhoods. And then that final issue, as with any major policy issue that we make, there's always one or two final issues that need to be resolved. This one is one of them, and we'll take that up at full council when it comes to council. So any objections to approving the final ordinance as is? Seeing none, so ordered. Thank you. And do we have a date for the full council yet from the city clerk? This hasn't been scheduled? It hasn't been scheduled?
I think they want to wait till the other ordinances come back and move them as a package.
Okay, sounds good.
Councilman, you may wish to adopt the ordinance that was transmitted by the city attorney today.
Okay, we'll adopt that ordinance as submitted by the city attorney today. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues, Mr. Koretz and others who have been working on this for a long time, and thank you to the public for participating, the planning department for your hard work. This was a lot of work to go into real detail about what is the best ordinance we could come up with. So any final words on this to the planning department?
No, not at all. We're really happy we got here, and we're excited about the next item on the agenda, which is going to build upon this ordinance and also,
right, let's go there now.
Also introduce some new elements of the Recode LA plan.
Okay, so our CLA could read item number 3 into the agenda, please.
Item three, Councilman, this is a City Planning Commission recommended ordinance to establish variations of the R1 zone and an RG rear detached garage supplemental use district.
Planning department?
Okay, thank you. Hello. Thank you. Tom Rothman again. I'm here today to introduce the new R1 variation zones. We're very excited about this, the department is, because this is the first effort of the RECODE program to be launched as part of the zoning system of Los Angeles. We are proposing to add new R1 variation zones and additionally a rear detached garage supplemental use district to our zoning code.
Okay, great.
So just quickly, there are several elements of our neighborhood conservation efforts that are intended to address single-family character and scale. The first we just discussed, the BMO BHO amendments, which is the citywide ordinance. Two, the interim control ordinances that have been in place on a variety of neighborhoods throughout the city. The adoption of several HPOZs. And lastly, this ordinance in front of you today, the R1 variation zones. So the R1 variation zones and the new rear detached garage supplemental use district have been developed as a more tailored zoning tools and are actually a preview of the RECODE LA single-family zone options. Today I'll provide an overview of the new R1 zones and what they would do. The application of the new zones to certain neighborhoods will be presented to Plum at a different date. So quickly to go over what we just talked about half an hour ago, the BMO BHO Code Amendment proposes many changes to the standard R1 zones, and many of the regulations will also apply to these new tailored single-family zones. Again, the encroachment plane is a key concept to our new single-family zoning, which introduces a 45-degree angle after a certain elevation of new single-family homes. It helps push away the bulk and mass away from adjacent properties after a certain height. And we've also introduced the sidewall articulation, which helps break up those long walls we often see in some of these new larger houses.
That's basically anything above 45? Is that what you're...
Up for the encroachment plane? For the encroachment plane?
For the angle? So it would, at what point, at what height?
It starts at 20 feet.
Oh, it starts at 20.
For standard R1 under the BMO, it
Right.
starts at 20,
20?
but for these variation zones, it depends on which zone you have, and so it's calibrated differently on what the zone's trying to achieve.
So 20.
Okay, so quickly to get into the details of the R1 variation zones, they build on the BMO BHO regulations and they regulate the maximum residential floor area, the FAR. They regulate the maximum height. They regulate the encroachment plane starting points, as we just mentioned. It regulates the placement of the upper stories, whether it's in the front, the rear, or if it's a variable mass, and also regulates the maximum lot coverage. Differently than the standard R1 zones, to more finely address issues related to neighborhood character, scale, and massing. The proposed R1 variation zones consist of 4 categories. The first 3 categories, R1V, which proposes a variable mass, R1F, which proposes a front mass, and R1R, which proposes a rear mass. They're organized by form, more specifically where the massing of a house can be located. The fourth category, R1H, is intended to be used solely in the hillside areas, classified by geography, and would only be available in those districts. So quickly, within each of the 4 categories, the R1V, the R1H, the R1R, and the R1F, there are going to be additionally 4 subset zones. So 4 times 4, there will be 16 new zones being proposed. The R1 in front of each of the subset zones signifies that they are all part of the overarching R1 zones that we're all familiar with. The letters that follow, the V, the F, the R, or the H, identifies the form, or the hillside geography. The numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 appearing at the end of the zone string indicates the scale of the zone. 1 being the largest, which with the most permissive floor area ratio, and 4 being the smallest with the most restrictive floor area ratio. I just want to bring this to the attention. This is a minor but very important feature. We did have to rename some of the zones. Given the way we had started out this project, we had 3 options of size. We did add a 4th option. So originally we had R1, R2, R1, we had 1, 2, and 3 based upon the size of a house. We did have to add a 4th size. So we will be renaming some of the zones as we go through this. So you'll notice that the names are slightly different than the City Planning Commission version. We're recommending that the previous names for the R1 zones be updated to the ones you see here in order to maintain a simpler naming convention that lists the zones of each category in numerical order. Previously, some of the zones were labeled as new, as a placeholder, and we want to correct that now. The update is as follows. Those zones that included the word new have been numbered to the number 2. Those previously with 2 have been renumbered to 3, and those previously with a 3 have been renumbered to 4. None of the zones with 1 needed to be updated. Please note that no changes have been made to the regulations themselves, and the RFA remains as they were under the previous names. The names have simply been updated. The presentation will reflect only the updated names from now on. So quickly, the R1V category. This slide represents the details of the R1V, the V standing for a variable mass. This offers 4 zones in a range of scale from large to small and does not restrict where the mass of the upper stories are located. The most permissive of the R1V category is the R1V1 zone, and the most restrictive is the R1V4 zone. The R1V1 is most similar in form and scale to the old BMO regulations currently in place. The R1V3 is most similar in form and scale to the standard R1 zone per the proposed BMO that you saw earlier tonight. This slide represents the details of the R1F category, the front mass category. This category divides the building into a front and rear mass, each with its own set of regulations. In this category, the placement of upper stories is mandated towards the front of the lot to preserve backyard openness and privacy. Like the R1V category, the R1F category offers 4 zones in a range of scale from large to small. This slide represents the details of the R1R category, the R standing for, the second R standing for the rear mass. This category also divides the building into a front and rear mass that each have their own set of regulations. However, in this category, the placement of upper stories is mandated towards the rear of the lot to preserve a 1-story appearance under the street frontage. The R1R category also offers 4 zones in a range of scale from large to small, just like the 2 preceding it. Lastly, this slide represents the details of the R1H hillside category. Like the R1V category, the R1H category does not restrict where the mass of the upper stories are located. The R1H category offers different maximum RFAs than the standard R1 zone in hillside areas. All other regulations are the same. The R1H1 is most similar in scale to the old BHO regulations currently in place, and the R1H3 is the same as the standard R1 zone in the hillside areas per the proposed BHO that you saw previously tonight. Another key feature of this ordinance and items you've heard from constituents tonight is the proposal of a new overlay district called the Rear Detached Garage Supplemental Use District. It will be used as an overlay that would mandate that the parking requirements be satisfied with private garages detached from the main building and located at the rear of the lot of the properties covered by this overlay. This is an additional tool to regulate building patterns and would not be a standalone zone. So in conclusion, the new R1 variation zones and the rear detached garage supplemental use district would provide more tailored zoning options to respond to LA's diverse R1 single-family neighborhoods and foster additions and new construction that are more consistent with the community's predominant building form. That concludes my presentation.
Great, thank you. And just to clarify, this ordinance doesn't identify which areas are getting which zones, correct?
That is correct. That
It's
will come at a different time through our community planning project, through our community planning efforts. Right. So those will be coming, and most of that has already been identified.
So this kind of just creates the tools, and
this is going into the zoning code, correct.
Figure out later where to apply them. Right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to public comment now. Thank you for that presentation, and thank you so much for many hours of work that you put into this as well. Ruth Scribner, Lorraine Kirsten, Dr. Ana Serrano.
Hi, my name is Ruth Scribner, and I live in Wilshire Vista, Council District 10. We're one of the neighborhoods alongside with Big Fair Village and Faircrest Heights, which are our neighbors. All three neighborhoods have an ICO. We've all worked extremely hard to receive that distinction. We're passionate about our neighborhood, and we're very enthusiastic about all the work the planning department. I've seen these faces many times. We've gone to many meetings, and these R1 variation zones are just essential to keep these wonderful communities intact. We've done our work. We've gone to all the meetings. We've signed the petitions. We're always here. And more of us would be speaking about this issue if they didn't throw their energy into the BMO previously. So I need to make that clear. Our lots are narrow in our neighborhood. The neighborhood, anyway.
You finish your thought.
Okay. It's still intact. We have one McMansion. One feature of the R1 zone that's so important is the detached garage, ensuring the driveways. That's how the neighborhood was laid out. They're narrow lots. It's truly essential. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've done such great work.
Hello, my name is Lorraine Kirsten. I'm a 30-year resident of Faircrest Heights, CD10. I strongly support the establishment of variations of the R1 zone and the RG Detached Garage Supplemental Use District. There is tremendous support in our neighborhood for this ordinance, and I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for the City Council for their foresight and wisdom in considering it. This tailoring of zones will help maintain the quality of life and the privacy of our homes that makes these neighborhoods so appealing and so desirable. I'd also like to point out that there are more supporters here who could only speak on one item. A number of them had to leave, but maybe if there are others, they could stand up and show their support for this. Again, thank you very much for considering it. It shows your wisdom in your oversight of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ana Serrano, and likewise I'd like to thank City Planning Commission for their tremendous work on this issue. And like Lorraine and everyone else before me, I also want to say that I'm in favor of the new zoning, and in particular the rear detached garage is extremely important to us to maintain that buffer zone and to maintain, for some of us, we lose all the light we lose when you have these huge structures next to you. So it's really a quality of life. I've lived in Faircrest Heights for 32 years. And I'm not against building, but I sure am against being encroached upon in that way. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your support.
Thank you. Julia Duncan from City 4, you wish to speak now or after, or you're, okay. Barry Johnson, Studio City Neighborhood Council with CIS on file. Are you here? Not here. Okay. Howard Whitkin. Not here. Okay. Sean Bayless from CD5. You wish to speak now or after? Sean Bayless? Speak now. Okay. Sean Bayless from Council District 5.
I'll make this quick. Sean Bayless from Councilmember Paul Corrett's office. Really can't say enough positive things about the planning department to take an item that they were looking to wrap into Recode LA over the next couple of years and put a rush on that. So that we could have these options sooner rather than later. It's allowed us to tailor these zones and provide to our communities much closer the zoning that they would like to have. So we are very supportive of the R1 variation or menu zones, and want to see it move forward. Thank you.
I still have a number of cards, sir. I'm not finished yet, but good observation. Typically, the council members rep speak at the end, and he wanted to speak now, and we allow that discretion. Andres Molich. Not here. W. Danovic, or Danaville. Oh, you see? All right.
Hi, I'm William Danovic, and I live in the La Brea Hancock Park, or not Hancock Park, but Hancock area, Council District 4. I've lived there since 1976. I am very much in favor of the R1, R3 rear garage. I am concerned about Councilman Koretz's amendment because it seems to me that it is allowing front-facing garages, which I find entirely unacceptable. And if it allows front-facing garages, will it not eliminate driveways, which is one of our prime concerns? The fact that we want the space to be a buffer, allowing air, privacy, and sunlight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Andy Molish. First, I would like to thank the planning department for the tremendous effort that they did in putting together all of these rules, and I know it's been many months of work. I want to express my strong support for the establishment of these variation zones, and actually I'm not only speaking for me, but for the more than 250 residents of the Beverlywood adjacent Castle Heights area, and I have actually here a petition signed by all of these people that are in favor of establishing a variation zone, specifically R1VU, for our area. And we think that the variation zones give a better possibility to tailor the trade-off between preventing marginalization and giving reasonable living space to all of the people. And as I said, this is not only my view, but of our area and actually of the adjacent areas around us as well. And there has been a tremendous support, actually more than 1,000 signatures in support of actually having a variation zone for us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try to make out this name. I think it's Nina Daub or WMA Daub. Anyone claim that? Mank Hazen or Harn? Gina Moffitt? Jonathan Brand?
Council members, good evening. My name is Jonathan Brand, and I feel that the planning department did an honorable job of addressing the dynamic character of our diverse communities through these R1 variations. I'm currently in the process of moving from a townhome in the North Beverlywood area, just a few blocks away, to an area that is in the CD5 portion of Crestview. And we feel in this community, I've been reaching out to my neighbors, that we should have be on par with what Beverlywood has and what North Beverlywood has in Castle Heights, to have the variation of the R1V new, which is now called the R1V2. We think it's appropriate. It's pretty much the same community. We send our kids to the same schools. We go to the same churches and synagogues. We go to the same supermarkets. We play in the same basketball league, and we should have that same continuity amongst the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Russell, Lisa Morin, Yuval Kramer or Kramer.
I too want to, I'm Ann Russell. I've been a resident of this district of the Hollywood Hills since 1988. I work and spend my time in the Pacific Palisades, and I'm here on behalf of the residents of the Pacific Palisades to thank you for all of your hard work over these past many, many months. Coming up with these variations is just excellent and so needed. I would like to address the R1V1, which is the little tweaks that I think we would all appreciate. As diametrically opposed to almost everything that's been said here today, in the Pacific Palisades, we have all front-facing garages. We are not in an area that has back alleys, so it's not conducive to back garages at all. I know that we're one of several different areas in the city of LA that have not really been supported or talked about here tonight. We strongly advise you in the R1, V1, which is your most permissive zone, to put back our 400 square foot exemptions for the garages.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Lisa Moran. I've been living in the Palisades. Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much for the much-needed and appreciated R1V1 and R1H1 in Pacific Palisades. The majority of the lots that are covered under this are 5,200 feet or 6,500 feet and 40 feet wide. There is no room to put a separate garage in the rear yard. So we would appreciate the 400 square foot exemption for the front garage because you need a garage and the streets aren't wide enough. That is number one. And then if you could adjust the FAR, which now goes 0.65 to 6,000 feet, if you could go to 6,501 for us or 6,500, because our lots are either 5,200 or 65, just to make it uniform across the board for the people in the affected area in the Palisades. I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much, and really, really, we appreciate it. We need you so badly in the Palisades, and thank you all so much.
Thank you. Yuval Kramer. James Corbett. Okay, thank you. Maxine Marks. Aaron Biston. And Yisrael Tabi.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maxine Marks. I've been a resident of the North Beverly Wood community for the last 25 years. And while there is only a few of us here this evening, I'd like to point out that the community members who need adequate housing are at home at this time of the day with their children. I would like to speak about the overcorrection of the BMO as it currently is being proposed, as it does not represent our needs. And we value families and communities and are requesting that you support our request for menu zoning and the application of the R1V new, R1V2 for North Beverly Wood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, dear council members and members of the Planning Commission. I'm part of the CD5 residents and homeowners are urging you to, and our councilman to designate R14 new zoning for Crestview CD5. We in Beverlywood are joined as a community with the same needs and similar demographics like Beverlywood. Our neighborhood is composed of families who need adequate homes. Attached is a map of Crestview CD5, referred to by realtors as Beverlywood adjacent, to not allow arbitrary delineations to fragment our community, made up of children who go to the same schools and families who frequent the same community centers. While we understand that the latest draft of the BMO satisfies many neighborhoods, 454 is direly inadequate to the needs of the families living in the Crestview CD5. We're asking that you ensure the cohesion of our community by applying R1V new zoning to Crestview CD5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Israel Tabby. I'm a member of Crestview Community District 5. As a number of my colleagues have mentioned, we're Beverlywood adjacent, and we share many of the same institutions. And we would like to request to have the R1V new zoning designated for our area. We have growing families. We have families with elderly parents that would like to build homes to be able to accommodate their parents living with them. And we strongly urge you to designate the Crestview area, Community District 5, for R1V new zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I normally don't do this, but given the number of items that we took together, in the multiple agenda item, was there anybody here who submitted a card who did not speak on item 3, and didn't speak on any other item? Okay, if you could come up, please. Yeah, okay, that's right, and I must have put your card somewhere else. That's why I'm asking this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Chokran, good evening. Crestview CD5 resident and homeowner. I'm holding 105 letters individually signed by Crestview CD5 residents. We are in favor of variation zoning, and we demand that Crestview CD5 be zoned R1V New, which is now R1V2. We in Beverlywood are joined as a community with the same needs and demographics. Like Beverlywood, our neighborhood is composed of families who need adequate homes. Crestview CD5 is referred to by realtors as Beverlywood adjacent. Do not allow arbitrary delineations to fragment our community, made up of children who go to the same schools and families who frequent the same community centers. While we understand that the latest draft of the BMO satisfies some neighborhoods, it is, however, direly inadequate to the needs of families living in Crestview CD5. We are asking that you ensure the cohesion of our community by applying R1V2 to Crestview CD5. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. And for both of you, you guys have already spoken, the blue shirt and the green shirt. You guys have already spoken in an item, so you can only speak on one item unless you spoke at the... Yeah, you can only speak on one item, yeah. Unless you... Yeah, the city clerk could explain the rules to you, sir, if you need to have those explained to you. And you in the green jacket, you know the rules. Go ahead, ma'am, and please state your name.
Stephanie Savage. I'm from the Laurel Canyon Association. In the
Did you speak already, ma'am?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't, right? Okay, thank you.
Can we go back?
Sure, go right ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm also from the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. I wrote a letter back in October. I brought you a copy stating my concerns about the R1H variation zone. So my only concern was with the hillside areas. My understanding for the reason for the variation zone was to bring back the floor area bonus eliminated from the new BHO. I understand the main point of the new BHO was to curtail overdevelopment, hence the bonus elimination. 2011 BHO allowed a 20% bonus for floor area for meaningful benefits to neighborhoods like low grading or green building. I'm sorry to see them eliminated from the code and to be replaced with an option that will increase an area by more than 20% depending on the slope, with no benefits to the neighborhoods. Granted, these are not a giveaway. Council needs to implement these zones per areas. The R1 variation zones have changed since October. There's 12 zones in the flats have been given a lot of thought and attention and specifics. However, the R1H zones, those 4 zones, need a lot more clarity. There's very little described about them since they were written in end of August. Please look at those closely.
Great, thank you. Well, I'd like to thank all the people who came out and gave additional input on how we could continue to refine this new tool for the planning department to provide more tailored development to our single-family zones. And it does not actually apply any of the zones to specific areas yet. That's still in the works, but I think we've come a long way to get more precise, specific rules for the single-family zones, and it's a lot of work that went into this. So, any questions or comments on this? No. We will move to request the city attorney to prepare and present an ordinance on this item and bring it back. Well, we would send it to full council, right?
No, you can keep it in committee and simply make the request of the city attorney.
Okay, let's do that. We'll keep it in committee and make the request of the city attorney, and then we'll see a final ordinance here in council and in committee. Okay. Any objections to that? Okay, thank you very much. And so this is just, we're directing for the public, we're directing to write a final ordinance for this. And so in the interim, you used to have an ability to get your comments and recommendations to the plan department and or your council member. And then we'll take this up again in a plum committee in the near future. Thank you. Item number 4, we could read that into the record, please.
Sure. Item 4, Councilman, this is a City Planning Commission proposed ordinance to create a hillside construction regulation area applicable to single-family homes in hillside areas.
Okay.
Good evening, committee members. Craig Weber, City Planning staff. I'm joined here with colleague Christine Saponara. Much has been said this evening about the department's multifaceted neighborhood conservation program, so I'll try to keep remarks brief on the item of the moment, which is the adoption of a new supplemental use district, the Hillside Construction Regulation Overlay. In the simplest terms, the proposed HCR would provide various new restrictions on construction in hillside areas as applied in the future. So I want to list out what some of those items are. Number one, this would be applying haul route restrictions to all projects within an adopted HCR. Right now, haul route restrictions only apply to projects of a certain size. Number two, it would put a maximum grading cap per project at a maximum of 6,000 cubic yards. The proposed overlay would also provide construction hours of operation, so limiting when construction can take place on a site. And then lastly, the proposed overlay would require additional review for single-family houses that exceed a certain size. So I want to just touch on what the commission heard at its meeting and the changes that were made by the commission, and then also touch on some of the remarks that were made by Councilman Koretz earlier. So I just mentioned that the HCR would would require additional project review for houses of a certain size. Originally, the ordinance proposed a 20,000 square foot threshold for review. The Planning Commission tapered that down to 17,500 square feet. Again, that's for a single family house. Additionally, the original ordinance would have restricted so that construction activities apart from interior activities would not be allowed on a Saturday. The commission removed that restriction, and I believe Councilmember Koretz suggested that it ought to be added back in. And then lastly, the CPC added to the haul route restrictions within the ordinance a stipulation that cement trucks would also follow those same haul route restrictions. This ordinance was prepared in concert with the Departments of Transportation and Building and Safety, and we've received some additional input from the Department of Building and Safety. So I want to touch on a couple critical pieces there. Number one, the department is recommending that the City Planning Commission's inclusion of cement trucks into the haul route restrictions be removed. These are really two separate types of hauling enterprises, and the nature of pouring concrete, as we learned by the very large example at the Wilshire Grand Hotel construction site, requires some level of continuous pouring. So if we were to restrict cement trucks in the same way that dirt hauling trucks would be restricted in this ordinance, that would create significant hardships for construction activities. The Department of Building Safety also suggested some various language clarifications that we feel there's room to work with the city attorney in the form and legality phase for the proposed ordinance. With that, we would welcome any questions that the committee might have.
Excuse me, any questions or comments? Okay, we'll go to public comment. Danielle Louie, or Lou? Not here. Donald Lowe's? Not here. Robert Schlesinger? Oh, there's somebody here. And then, welcome, sir.
Good evening. I'm Donald Lowe's, Benedict Canyon. 2 points. Number one is with respect to the table 1221C10, which relates to hauling and grading maximum standards. The purpose of the HCR is to permit hauling and grading standards to be more restrictive than permitted by the code. But then we get back to what is in the code, and all we're doing is doubling within this pattern 100% of what was there before. We think this is a mistake, and while it's and should be cut back for hauling purposes to the current BMO of 2011, so that there will be.
You can finish your you can finish your thoughts, sir. Or do you want to finish up your sentence? Do you wish to finish up your sentence?
Yes, we think that would be consistent with the intent of the code. It would be consistent with the HCR, and we believe it would be consistent with the intent of what this whole thing is about. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Schlesinger, Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, current chair for the Planning and Land Use Committee. The BABCNC supports this HCR. However, the Planning Commission on the 15th of December gutted the ordinance with certain things that were the object of this HCR. I understand Councilman Koretz has restored the 9 to 3 for dump trucks. However, cement trucks have been excluded now, which I spoke about and put in at that time. We are not pouring a 180-foot tall building. The biggest thing we can pour is caissons, and caissons don't take that long. And the fact that they may have to finish a caisson before the night is over, there's maybe some leniency there. But pouring till 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night does not make any sense.
Thank you.
My name is Dan Love. I'm representing the Bel Air Association and our neighborhood, and we wholeheartedly approve that you move forward with this ordinance, the HCR. And secondly, I'd also like to reiterate what Paul Koretz said before, that we reinstate the wording in the HCR, which limits the work hours to 8 to 6, 5 days a week, and that on Saturday that there only be quiet interior work performed and no working under lights at night and after hours. And secondly, for hauling, that the hours be restricted to 9 to 3 and 5 days a week. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to Christine and to Mr. Rothman for their working with the neighborhood on this issue.
Thank you. Faisal Al-Zari, Council District 5, Koretz.
Council members, good evening. Faisal Al-Sari here on behalf of Councilmember Koretz. Again, this marks a great step in improving quality of life in our single-family neighborhoods. We have to thank the planning department. They really stepped it up in making this happen. I think that this is a huge improvement for the hillside areas and will definitely impact families in a positive way. One amendment, just to reiterate, the council member is requesting this committee to reinstate construction hour restrictions. We will provide a copy to the CLA, but just to read that again into the record, general regular work hours are to be from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Only interior work shall occur on Saturdays, and no working under exterior lights. Hauling hours shall be restricted to 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. and 5 days a week only. So that is one. With regards to the cement trucks, I think that we should maintain our planning commission suggestion to also limit cement trucks to those hours. The pouring, I don't think it's a reasonable example to compare, one of our largest buildings in the city to a single-family home pour. I think that that's a bit of a stretch, and I think the hour restriction really is about freeing up very tight road space. Just to give you a sense, I have never heard of any other communities having situations where they cannot leave their driveway for 45 minutes at a time, they cannot access their home, that they regularly miss meetings due to construction activity. And so I think that that's why this particular area is unique and deserves these type of standards. With that, thank you very much, and we will provide this language to the CLA. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments on this? I'd recommend that we move this item with the draft language to the city attorney for a final ordinance and bring it back to committee. And in the interim, we're going to take up the suggested changes by Mr. Koretz and raise those again when we come back in plum and look at, and further discuss those at the final ordinance stage. But for now, we could keep it as it is and come back and raise those issues later. I think they're worthy of further discussion. We were made aware of those today, so. No objection, that'll be the motion, the order. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
for clarification, you want to move this item as is, but just note the recommendations from Council District 5?
Yes, to be brought up at discussion with the final ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So ordered. Next item.
Yes, item 5, Councilman, this is a draft ordinance, proposes a zone and height district change for various parcels on the Oaks neighborhood in Los Feliz, and along with development limitations.
All right. Welcome again.
Hey, thanks for having us. Craig Weber again, City Planning staff, again with Christine Saponara. The item before you is relatively straightforward. Several years ago, a delimitation was applied to the Oaks neighborhood in the Hollywood Hills just above the Los Feliz community. The delimitation addressed a variety of hillside construction type issues and has been very effective at striking the right balance for the size of homes within that community. But one amendment has been requested to the existing delimitation, and this is a recharacterization of how residential floor area is calculated with respect to basements. So the language of that is within the draft ordinance. There's general support within the community for this clarification, and we feel that the clarification will assist in a more straightforward review of projects on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, great, thank you. We have a couple of comment cards. Linda, Alton, and Gerard. And Jerry Hans afterwards.
Good evening. My name is Linda Othen and Gerard. I'm president of the Oaks Homeowners Association, and I support the revision of this ordinance. It's vitally important to keep the character of our community for this to be passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Hans.
Good evening. I'm Jerry Hans. I'm a 30-year resident of the Oaks area and one of the past presidents of the Oaks Homeowners Association. I strongly support this ordinance, which is a continuation of the protections the Oaks has worked hard for since 2006. The whole premise has been to keep new homes and remodels contextual with the existing housing stock and the steep hillside terrain we enjoy next to Griffith Park. We want to thank the Planning Department, our council office, Christine and Julia, for listening to our specific needs for a very unique community. Thank you.
Thank you. Julia Duncan from Council District 4.
Good evening, council members. The Oaks Homeowners Association has been working several years to protect the existing character of their community, to limit oversized homes in relation to lot size for both new construction and remodels. This was accomplished through the delimitation and subsequent ICO. The new Oaks delimitation ordinance incorporates the provisions of the ICO and corrects inaccuracies in the original delimitation. We fully support the proposed Oaks delimitation ordinance. The outreach and work the Planning Department has done has been outstanding, and the community, the Oaks HOA, are fully behind the revisions. We want to thank Christine, and we like Tom Rothman too, but we would also like to thank Craig Weber. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this item? Okay, we'll move to approve the proposed zone and height district change ordinance.
Actually, it's to request the city no? Okay. Well, never mind. This one doesn't go to city attorney.
No.
This
Okay.
will be a city
Where does it go?
planning one.
It goes to planning, right?
Yes.
It's a motion, right? Gotcha. All right, so planning will present that back here in Plum Committee in the near future. We'll move that item. Any objections?
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
don't we have a final ordinance that we can move to council?
Adrian Corsani, City Attorney's Office, per Rule 38, unless you have changes, they can transmit the final to council based on your recommendation.
Okay, there are no changes. We'll do that then, okay? Excellent. So ordered. Next item.
That concludes the agenda.
That concludes the agenda. We have general public comment. Mark Hurd? Not here. I've got this card that is unreadable, and I don't know who to call. Just a bunch of pictures of stuff, so I don't know who to call. Puppet? Puppet? Zuma Dog?
That's right. LA.
Sir, you're out of order. I called Puppet. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. What? I hear an echo. What? I hear an echo. Yeah. So we've been here for all these hours. Yeah. So, what did we learn today, everybody? We learned that this new rule isn't a working rule because you just pick and choose. Oh, good night, defendant. Yes, that's right. One of the defendants left the room. Yes, goodbye there, Mitchell. And then the other defendant's still here. So that's why we attend these meetings, watching the stealing and the corruption as we watch. Tomorrow will be the last day, and then on the 20th, the rebirth of the FBI office in Los Angeles will begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Zuma Dog? Leah? Yuval Kramer? Not here. Okay, Herman, your card is unreadable. I would request that in the future you put a name. A bunch of pictures is not going to cut it, even if you claim this card, okay? I'll let you speak today, but in the future you have to put a name. Thank you.
United States District Court, for the record, LACV 1605655. Case regarding plaintiff Wayne Spindler versus the City of Los Angeles, Mitchell Englander of Plum, and Marquise Harrison Dawson of Plum. As you exit and violate the Ralph M. Brown Act, I'm letting you know you broke a quorum. So you fools better
Herman,
learn the
we
rules.
broke quorum. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to adjourn this meeting. This meeting, there's no more quorum. This meeting is over. Thank you.